Welcome to Grave Discussions. I am 1/3 of your terrifying trio, Barnabas.
And I am the third, Samael.
And I am the third, the caretaker. But today is the final day I will be known as the caretaker. We are killing that name and putting it to rest. And I will be reborn again as somebody new.
And that's right. He's at the end of his shift. We're killing him at the end of the episode. Stick around for that.
Wouldn't it be like crazy if he comes back as like an underwhelming name? He just comes back as Creepy Carl.
Yep. It's like the weirdo in the office that just like stalks all the young girls or something.
He's like that guy. It's like, hey, are you the guy that brags about weird shit? He's like, hell no, I'm the guy that takes the longest fucking baths in my city.
Right.
Yeah.
No, you got me mixed up with somebody else.
Well, we'll see.
Weird at all.
We'll see in the next episode, but for right now, we still got the caretaker in our midst. And this is episode 112, the top 10 terrors of 2024.
Woo!
We're a little bit late on this one, but life. However, we always got to do our annual top 10 list of the best episodes of the year. So today, of course, we're counting down our top 10s of 2024. Real quick, if you wanted to check out any of our other top 10 episodes, you can go check them all out right now on your favorite podcasting platform or, of course, on gravediscussions.net. But let's not waste any more time. Boys, are you ready to count down our lists?
Yes.
So ready.
Awesome. Now, Caretaker, this is actually going to be your first time as a host on one of these top 10 episodes. So I'm super excited to see what your list is. Obviously, 2024, I think in horror, I think we can all agree, was actually an incredible year for horror. So I know for me, it was super difficult to put together a top 10.
Yeah, definitely. I 100% agree. It was a very good year for horror, and man, it was pretty difficult just trying to, like I said before we started recording, I've been tinkering with this list for quite some time, and it hasn't stopped because it's just tough to put them in order, based on how many just really good horror films we got this year, and a lot are very different from one another too, and so yeah, it was complicated, but very much looking forward to this conversation. And I'm curious to see what you guys have on your top 10, because I feel like I have some interesting films on my top 10. I'll put it that way. That I feel like some people maybe were, a little bit lower on, maybe potentially. So I think this is going to be a lot of fun.
I'm pretty excited. I didn't watch every horror movie of 2024. I watched quite a bit, but like I have my own biases on like the stuff I like, the stuff I don't like. There was like maybe 2 big horror movies that I did not see this year. Unfortunately, Nosferatu being one of them. I had COVID when it came out, and then we had giant ice storms here, and the roads were completely blocked. Our my workplace was closed for almost an entire week straight. We only worked 2 days out of that week because of the ice storm, and then at the end of the ice storm, those 2 days where everything had kind of calmed down and the roads were clear, we got 4 inches of snow. So,
Jeez.
It was a nightmare here.
Dude, the weather was cock blocking you for real.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I really wanted to go see Nosferatu. I'm hoping that it's still in theaters somewhere here. I gotta look it up,
yeah.
But should be.
Or I can just wait
till
it
be on
comes to
digital
streaming.
soon.
Yeah, I really want it. Regardless, I'll fucking rent it. I don't care if it's like $20. Like, I really want to see it. I've seen clips here and there, but spoiler-free ones. And I mean, I know how the story goes. The remake of Nosferatu from the 70s is one of my favorite horror movies of all time, and one of the first. It was like one of the first horror movies I watched, and I watched it when I was like 6. So
yeah, yeah, that movie is sick. Honestly, if you like that one, I think you'll really dig this remake. Plus, I mean, it's Robert Eggers. Like, He's got such a unique style, but I'm sure we'll probably talk more about Nosferatu. I am definitely curious to hear your thoughts about it, Sam, when you do finally get around to seeing it. But without further ado, let's jump into our top 10s. And then, Samael, since you didn't have any honorable mentions, why don't we start with your number 10 film?
Okay, my number 10, just to make Barnabas scratch his head and be like, why the fuck do you do this
I feel
shit
like I
all
know
the
what it
time?
is.
My number 10 is none other than Tarot.
Oh God, that's actually not what I thought it was gonna be. I thought
What did you think?
I thought you were gonna say fucking Imaginary.
Oh God, fuck no! That movie was like cookie cutter bullshit. And then they got to the fucking imaginary world, and it was like fucking like
Yeah.
it was like a fucking acid trip written by a 3-year-old. Like,
Well, because you said Blumhouse before, and I mean Tarot feels like a Blumhouse movie. I don't think it's
It does.
technically
Yeah,
Blumhouse. Imaginary
it
is
just-
fucking Blumhouse.
just
I
that
was like,
style. I don't know.
Yeah.
Tarot was just so fucking kooky. Like, it was like, imagine if Ouija was like fucking terrible. Like, I gave it 3 stars just because like these like group of friend horror movies, group of friends stumble upon some shit they don't need to fucking stumble upon, is so reminiscent of like the early 2010s, if not just the year 2010. It's so fucking kooky. It's so stupid, and it just like it's just so bad. The story, the script is, listen, it has its charm. But like it has one of the worst fucking scripts in a movie, period. Like more so than Imaginary, I would say. And Imaginary was fucking crazy terrible. But this one, it was just so charming to me, and like I don't know, it just did it for me. Like it was not scary at all. The entire time me and Olivia were watching it, we were just talking mad shit about it. But I am going to watch this one again because it's like so bad that it's unbelievably bad. But it's like, I feel like they put a little bit of heart into it, but it was mainly just like, oh, what does everybody know? Everyone knows Ouija boards. Oh, how about tarot cards? We didn't do tarot yet.
Yeah.
Next, it's going to be fucking like, I don't know. Next, they're going to be doing like fucking another Bloody Mary movie or some shit. Like, I don't know. What's like a taboo subject from the 90s that everyone was like, you shouldn't do that or you'll get possessed by the devil. Like,
It's gonna be stepping on cracks and breaking your mother's back. That's,
Yeah,
that's
like,
what the
and
next
then-
movie's gonna be.
and then a guy's going to wake up in like a fucking warehouse and like everywhere's a crack.
Yeah,
And then you're just going to hear,
something stupid.
I want to play a game. Like, oh shit. But yeah, Tarot made the list for me just because like it is genuinely like, and listen, for us, because we've watched shit like Blood Slaughter Massacre and Slaughterhouse Massacre. Like, this is
Yeah.
probably one of the worst horror movies I've ever watched. But I was so shook that they took the 2010s shitty, let's get a group of friends and mess with something that they shouldn't mess with, and they published this movie. The balls of that. The
You know,
balls of that.
Honestly, like those movies aren't like super uncommon. I mean, even the new Until Dawn like movie trailer. I don't know if I know the Caretaker hasn't seen it. I don't know if you've seen it, Sam, but it's kind of given that vibe too. Like they're not that uncommon, but I mean, they don't come out as often as they used to. Like you said, kind of in that era. But
it's because at this point, like those movies are like throwbacks, and for
Yeah.
us, like, you know, when we think of like, oh, movies of when we were kids, like we think 80s and 90s, but those now are like classic cinema to people, and
Yeah.
like shit from like the 2010s is like what the shit we were watching in like the early 2000s or like even mid 2000s. We look at the 90s and be like, yeah, that like, and now this is like this generation, like the younger generation's 90s. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
the 2010s, like I don't know. It was just like one of those like what's that stupid fucking movie? I forget what the fuck is called. The Gallows. Remember that one?
oh yeah, God.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
at least that one was like, you know, kind of okay.
Here-
This one was just bad all around, but I had to include it because I was truly impressed at the balls of them to like be like, we're going to make this movie, and like it was just insane. Like
Here-
it's so like it's a gimmicky. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? I love the
yeah,
gimmicky
it
shit, like
is.
dark, like on like dark web movies and shit. Like I just feel like this. It was so out of fucking place. That's why I added it. Like, and not on just on my list in like this year in horror in cinema period in general. This is like so out of place. This should have been published like fucking 2012. Like it would have made money. But like
Yeah.
God, this was so fucking bad. Holy fuck, I love it.
I
Like,
mean,
it's the balls
here-
of it.
Here's what I'll say about it. It definitely was near the bottom of my list. however, however, it definitely placed above like okay, it placed above 5 other movies, so it wasn't like the worst thing in the world. I think this is a movie that I could probably put on, like, hey, doing some work in my office. Let's throw on just like some random movie just to like,
Hear
have some
noise.
fun with. Yeah.
No.
But here's what I'll say. Like this movie at least put a little bit of effort into like some parts. It wasn't 100% terrible. Like, was it redundant? Was it gimmicky? Was it super tropey?
So, yes.
Absolutely. However, I did think the monsters were cool.
They were. I think that was the
yeah.
only redeeming quality.
Pretty
I just
much.
don't. I just don't understand. Like, like that shit got released last year, not like
Yeah.
15 years ago. Not as a YouTube short.
Well, listen,
Like they were like, "Holy fuck, this is such a great idea."
I think
Like
I think there's just still kind of an audience for that because it really it appeals
Me.
to like well yeah but I think it mostly appeals obviously to the people who just like primarily go to the movies, like to the movie theater, and just kind of like your standard sort of like popcorn horror flick, where
Yeah,
it's like
it's
jump
your-
scare. It's just it keeps the attention span active, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it's the
And
ones
you
we
can
call-
kind of
those are
laugh
the-
at it.
Yeah, those are the boo haunted house horror movies. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's like what we mean when we say boo haunted house movies. Like,
yeah, exactly.
like I don't know what started this craze. Honestly, like it definitely was Ouija.
That's a deep dive that I don't know if we have time for, but yeah, I mean they've been around for a long time, and there's a place for them, I guess, but some of them are worse than others. I'll just say that much. Tarot maybe is like middle of the pack, kind of, but
You don't think this is bottom of the barrel gimmicky? Like,
I'm just saying.
Well, in that
its,
realm
in
of
its own
movies.
little, in that
Yeah.
realm of movies.
no, that's
like,
what I'm saying. I still think
it's
in the
not
realm
bo-
of these because like they tried like
Well,
I don't know. Everything was just we got to do something. We got to figure it out. Like like fucking.
I mean, compared
Jesus Christ, the
compared
same
to
script
similar
over and over.
movies like that fucking wasn't there one where they were doing like spin the bottle or something compared to shit like that this was probably better.
I mean,
honestly,
the only thing that the only movie in recent memory that did something like this right was definitely Talk to Me.
you mean like the premise sort of
Yeah. Not like just like, oh, this game gone bad or this thing goes bad, and like because it wasn't like they were using a Ouija board. They're just like, here's the hand of a witch or some shit, and then shit goes down. It was the same type, same vibes, but like if you like, there needs to be some sort of innovation if you're gonna do this shit.
right.
Not this. This wasn't it, but goddamn,
No,
like
this
I will
wasn't
watch this. I'm gonna watch this one again.
Let's move off of tarot. Caretaker, what is your number 10?
Okay. My number 10 horror film is Oddity.
All right.
Yeah, Damien McCarthy. Yeah, I found a lot to really like about this film. I thought it was really well done. Pacing was great. Performances were great. The premise was very interesting and well executed. There were a couple little things in there that I felt could have been done maybe a little bit better. But overall, I had a great time with the movie. I thought it was just one that stuck out to me, one that I thought was really good, really well done. Well, I know you've seen it, Barnabas. Did you see it, Sam?
This is one I actually missed.
Okay.
It's definitely worth checking out.
It's from the Caveat guys, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's from Caveat.
See,
Guy.
this is the one I really wanted to see.
It's on
And, like,
Shudder.
See, I gotta just get to it. I've just been like,
Yeah.
I maybe watch one movie every 2 weeks, if that. Like, we've just been stuck recently on Outlast trials, so
Hey, understandable, but definitely worth making time for because honestly, this movie, like Caveat, that movie is its own whole breed, and I think both of you guys know that I'm really like high on that movie. I think
I
it's
love
I think
that
it's
fucking
super
movie.
cool. I'm not going to get into it because if I gush too much, then I'm just going to take up so much time. However, I think that Damien is extremely imaginative when it comes to his concepts. Caveat, we saw it. Who would think of some guy who has amnesia that's chained up to a fucking harness in a house, and there's this weird ass little girl and a bunny rabbit, and I won't spoil anything else about it, but it's insanity. This movie actually is a little bit, I don't want to say traditional, but this is what you would consider almost like your more legitimate Boo haunted house movie. You know,
Really?
Yeah.
it's one location pretty much, but
For
it
the
definitely,
most part.
yeah, it definitely has that. It has some elements of that kind of traditional haunted house film, but then you introduce this really unique concept of the wooden doll, and then you're just like you're waiting for something to happen, and then I won't get more into it, but it's just so masterful in the way that it builds up the suspense,
Yeah.
and
just
then
yeah,
once once shit finally happens, then it's like legitimately freaky. And I think that he has this like really unique way of just making any situation just like really unnerving. Not like completely insane. It's just, I don't know. There's something about the way that he sets up the suspense and then like hits it. And
Yeah.
so I really liked it.
I agree. Yeah, it's crafted very, very well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I really liked it too. So, the number 10.
Nice. All right, my number 10 film, which I actually don't think either of you have seen, Caretaker. I think I've told you about it. And this is the one that crept in to the number 10 spot like right before we started recording. I had it as stop motion, but then like I was thinking about it, and I did my end of the year rewards, and I actually rewarded this movie for quite a few things, and for good reason. It just, at the time I was like, I don't know if it's in my top 10, but the more I thought about it, I think it deserves the spot. And that movie is Red Rooms.
Yeah,
I've
one
not
that I
heard of
haven't
this one.
seen. I really want to though. It's been on my
So
list.
this one I think went under a lot of people's radars. I think it actually just landed on Shudder, and this one is definitely horror. I think for a lot of people, they'll say, it's like more of a thriller. It definitely is. However, I think the subject matter and the way that it's approached definitely justifies horror. But anyway, this is a Canadian film, and basically it's about this woman who has this unhealthy obsession with this guy who's on trial. And he's on trial because he's being accused of leading these red rooms, which are essentially these dark web like live streams of people actually being like tortured or killed or whatever.
Okay, this is up my alley. Keep
Yeah.
talking. I wanna know.
So the whole movie kind of traces this woman's obsession with the trial as well as the guy, and she's also like getting immersed into this red rooms kind of culture. And I don't want to spoil the movie, obviously. It's kind of vague in a lot of ways. It doesn't really show you much like graphic stuff, but it's all like subcontext, basically. Like what's going on. You don't see a lot of it. You're kind of just following her as she like descends further into the depravity of this whole trial and just like the subject matter at hand in general. And she's trying to figure out like what happened to these girls. There's like one girl that is still missing. They found like two other girls' bodies that this guy is accused of killing on these red room like live streams and stuff. And she gets further and further into this culture. And there's a lot of moments that are just like super disturbing, but a lot of it forces you to really use your imagination to perceive like what is happening and like what this woman is going through and seeing. And like it's those moments that make it really, really compelling to me, and disturbing in a lot of ways. And so yeah, I'll stop yammering, but that's basically why I think this movie is actually really, really good. A lot of people are saying, like, oh, it's super slow and stuff. It is a little bit more deliberately paced, but I think the way that it's like shot and edited and directed is really powerful. And so that's why it made my top 10.
I mean, there's a lot of those movies that are like slower paced and deliberately so, because like for a story to unravel and for you to like see like like the unraveling of a character sometimes and their psyche like takes a while because it's like realistic. There's like build up. You're not just like
Exactly.
you know like, oh, I'm watching these murder rooms and now I'm crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot more to it. There's a lot more like feelings and behavioral stuff and all this shit going into it. So like I don't know. I like those long drawn out movies. It's different when like the movie is just like shot after shot of like brooding and foreboding music and then nothing happening and then like you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I think like we need the slower pace stuff for story and character development. Like this isn't a TikTok. This is cinema. So I mean I've never had a problem with slow paced movies unless like I mean, for example, have you guys seen A Dark Song?
Yeah. I love that
Very,
movie.
very slow paced movie. One of the most beautiful, like esoteric, like movies like I've ever watched. I need to rewatch that again.
Me too.
That one stuck with me because, like, you know, stuff like that. Sometimes you just need time to unravel, and
Exactly.
people need to appreciate it more. And like anytime, like people are like, "Oh, it was slow." The only people who like this are it's a artsy fartsy movie. Like you are a degenerate amoeba. Like that's what you are.
I mean, we've talked a lot about, you know, how movies just kind of give you everything on a silver platter. Like this movie
Exactly.
really doesn't give you any answers. But I
Good.
think that's part of what makes it compelling because it makes you kind of think. Like there's so many times where I was thinking like, is the protagonist like doing what she's doing for this reason, or is she doing it for this reason or that reason? Like why is she doing this? Like, oh, is she gonna do this? And I'm not gonna say anymore, but I really liked that it kept me thinking about her like motivations and like who she is as a person and stuff
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
I'm
So
definitely gonna watch this one.
you should definitely check it out.
I'm gonna ask my lady if she wants to watch it this weekend because we just watched this like found footage like hacker movie called Radder. If you guys have seen that,
I've heard of it. Yeah, I've heard of it.
bro, you guys need to watch it. Like we need to like get together, like video chat and like do like a group like movie day, like because like I don't get to hang out with you guys and I miss you guys, so
I'll be
we need
down.
to do this.
I'll bring the baby.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, let's not waste any more time with the list here. Let's jump right into our number 9. Sam, what's your number 9 film?
My number 9 I think is a Shudder original. I watched it right before Halloween and it is called Daddy's Head.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I don't know if you guys watched that.
I have seen it.
Holy
I
fuck.
haven't
Like
yet.
fucking people were like bitching about it like, "Oh, it's pretentious." Brother, the chills that I got from this motherfucking movie. Like it's slow and like sometimes there's like not shit going on. I don't want to spoil it for Caretaker or for our viewers, but holy fuck, man. Like everyone who's like, "Oh, this movie's too slow. This movie's not shit." Oh yeah, go get uncomfortably high and then go watch this movie. You will have a panic attack like you've never had, brother. It's
Challenge accepted.
It's
There
like
you
one
go.
of those like it's definitely a creature feature, but it's a psychological like experimental creature feature, and like the all the like uncanny valley, unhuman, almost human, but you can tell like I don't know in the creature, bro. Oh my god, I put this movie on for shits and giggles because people were talking about it, and holy fuck, dude, uncomfortable the entire movie. The entire movie is just atmosphere. The ending was kind of meh, but it was like, you know, triumphant. And he's like, "See you later, mom," or whatever. Like, there's been some, you know, some bridges not burned and relationships mended. But like that was the whole point of this movie. Spoiler alert. But like, holy fuck, dude! If you guys like Wendigos and Skinwalkers and shit like that, and if you've always like, go watch this shit. Holy fuck! Just uncomfortable the entire movie. I thought it was perfectly paced. I thought the little twists and turns. Obviously, it's like it's predictable, right? I mean, you've seen it. It's predictable, but like it's not predictable. I don't know how to explain it. It's like the way it unravels is so perfect and so like it's like no, don't do like the wood scene with okay, no context. The wood scene with his dad's friend and he's like checking the thing out and he's like
that was good. Yeah.
Bro, like the whole time I'm like no. Like it's one of those movies where you're talking at your TV.
Right.
Like I love this movie. I gave it 3 stars out of 5. It had its flaws. At some points, it was like slow and like there's like why the fuck would you do that moments and like you're yelling at the kid. It's like okay, like Babadook. I would like kind of compare this to Babadook, but with like actual danger instead of just like a sort of allegory for grief. I don't know. This one had me, man. This one I gotta show my lady because I watched it with my boy Nate, who wants to come on our podcast one day and like do some reviews with us. Shout out Nate. And dude, I don't know, man. This one was like holy fuck. Like it was so like harrowing. Like these are the types of movies I tell Barnabas about all the time. Like these sort of like tense atmospheric movies where like the danger is like it almost feels omnipresent throughout the movie. Like I feel like whatever presence is in this is like sort of like injected into every second of this movie. I don't know how to explain it. It feels like this movie is haunted by this presence.
Yeah.
And I thought it was so solid.
Dude, the creature's voice as well was
Oh my god.
honestly
dude.
like super creepy. Yeah.
I
can't
need to
even
watch this
recreate it.
movie.
It's pretty good.
Immediately.
I was definitely pleasantly surprised by this one. I will give a spoiler. It did not make my top 10. However, I actually gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I was definitely pleasantly surprised by it. I totally agree with everything you said, Sam. I think there were a lot of great moments. The creature was actually like pretty interesting and creepy in a lot of those scenes. I think especially the stuff in the woods and then in the house with the creature, I think was well done,
Bro, the
suspenseful.
vents. Oh
Yeah,
my god.
that was
and
great.
I already have a paranoia of like someone living in my walls and in my vents.
Well, this didn't help, I'm sure.
Didn't.
And then the mom, Julia Brown, did a great job in her performance as well. So I was definitely really pleasantly surprised by this one. I know a lot of people were like that the title was weird and shit, and it is, but actually give the movie a chance if you haven't seen it because I think it is worth watching for sure.
I'm gonna move it up my watch list.
Definitely. Well, Caretaker, what is your number 9 film?
Okay. My number 9 film was something that I was pleasantly surprised when I went to the theater to go see. I hadn't even seen a trailer for it. I had knew what it was and knew who was in it and who was directing it, and was intrigued just by that alone. And that movie is Blink Twice.
Oh,
I told you I'm gonna have some movies that maybe are, some
Uncommon,
people might not think. So yeah, Blink Twice. Like I said, I was very pleasantly surprised when I went to go see it. Went and saw it with my fiance, and both of us were like very pleasantly surprised. It was quite a ride. Because I didn't know what to expect. I didn't even know the premise of the movie. I had no idea what even was going to happen. So early on, I kind of picked up what was going on and where it was kind of carried to. But the experience that I had with it was such an unexpected one, and sometimes those are just the best. Those are the standout experiences too. When you don't know what to expect and you go in completely blind, and you are just kind of you're in for the ride and you're wowed in that moment. So Blink Twice, I thought, did a lot of things really really well. I thought that the performances were really good. I thought that the execution on the premise and the style that it had was very well done. And I thought Zoe Kravitz did a really good job directing the film. And just the subject matter of the film. It was obviously a different take on the subject matter, but man, was that that was it was a brutal take, and I respected this movie for the places that it went to, and it wasn't afraid to go to those places, and I got a lot out of the movie, and no spoilers or anything, but the ending was something that was unexpected when it happened, and I was totally on board for, and yeah, I had a great time with it. So trying to keep it short and sweet here, but yeah, I had a wonderful time with it, and that's why it's my number 9.
Okay. Sam, did you see this one?
I did not.
Okay.
You guys got to send me your suggestions for this year, and I'm gonna make a list and knock out all of them while still trying to keep. This is my promise. Going into 2025, I am going to fucking watch every horror movie that I can that comes out.
Okay.
Because I feel like 2024, I was slacking a little bit, and there were some titles. Honestly, some titles I didn't watch because like I couldn't, like Nosferatu, and like I don't have time for Heretic, and some titles I just wasn't interested in, no matter how much was like they were like gossiped about. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I didn't see The Substance because
Okay.
like I was just like, this doesn't like pique my interest. I don't know why, it just doesn't. I'm sure I will watch it because Olivia wants to watch it. She's like, can we watch it when we're not eating, because like I heard it's gross.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. I don't know. For some reason, The Substance was just one of them that I just fucking, I am not interested in, but I'm going to watch it now.
Okay. Hey,
Because like
fair enough, man.
I have really bad FOMO, and like I always catch up
That's
when I
fair.
miss something, but
It's all good.
I don't know. I have to watch it. I don't know, man. Just
Hey.
the movies that I didn't watch, I just didn't care. I didn't see that fucking M. Night Shyamalan movie either. So
Oh yeah. No, I
Yeah.
hear you, dude. Don't even worry about it, because we all have busy lives.
Yeah,
and
no
It
worries.
happens, but I think
We
we
will
can all
send you our lists.
we
though.
will. We all can make a conscious effort to watch more movies, and that's what I intend to do anyway. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
I hear you, man. But yeah, blink twice. I'll keep it super short because I'm going to move on to mine, of course. But I also really enjoyed it. I actually didn't put it on my list. I think I thought about it, and then I made some weird justification in my head to like not put it on here. But that was definitely an oversight. I should have put it on on my list. Really enjoyed it as well. I think I gave it a 4 out of 5. Channing Tatum was like phenomenal, completely different performance than you normally see him in. The subject matter was super uncomfortable once you like figured out what was going on, but approached in a tactful way, and then you definitely get some satisfaction out of the following events. That's all I'm gonna say. There's definitely a reason behind everything, and I just love a movie where you get a little bit like an interesting mystery, and then it unfolds in a well-paced and well-conceived way, and that's exactly what this movie did. So
Yeah,
uh,
I
yeah.
agree. Yeah, a lot of mystery. Yeah, like you said, there's a good mystery going on, and there's all those moving parts, and
Mhm.
and it's fun as it just unravels itself, and and you learn a little bit more and a little bit more and a little
Yeah.
bit more, and you're just trying to figure out the story along with the character,
Mhm.
as she's kind of trying to figure out what's going on too, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was very effective and very well done, I thought. So
Yeah, no, I
yeah.
completely agree. My number 9 is one that I think actually might be higher up on both your guys' lists, but it is The First Omen.
Mm,
really,
Yep.
okay.
Now,
do you want to know the truth?
sure.
It did not make it to my list.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. It did make my top 10, obviously. And I will say, before even going into the year, I knew about it, and I think a lot of people probably had the same reaction that I initially did, which was, oh, an Omen prequel? Like, do we really need this shit?
I was pleasantly surprised though. I will
Dude,
give you that. But
dude,
like, it was very good. But like, I don't know. Listen. Do you want to know the truth?
sure.
It was in my top 10. I I pushed it out to put tarot just to like
I knew
be-
it.
just to
I
like
fucking knew
just
it.
to like kind of like be an asshole to Barnabas.
Hey, fair,
Because like
fair enough, man.
my real number 10 definitely is The First Omen though,
Okay.
but like the audacity of tarot to even exist is why I
Yeah.
put it on there.
No, that's fair enough. But I was definitely very happy that The First Omen shattered my expectations.
For real. Like for
Um,
real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, first off, do we even need a prequel to The Omen? My answer was no. However, I do think this one like genuinely added some really interesting elements to that whole plot. It was shot in such an interesting and cool and effective way. I loved the cinematography of this film. I loved the editing. All the technical elements were brilliant. And then the actual story, I mean, was able to justify its place as a prequel to The Omen. I thought it added a lot of really cool things. Null Tiger Free was fantastic. The supporting cast was fantastic. And I was just really, really compelled by this movie. Like, you know, I found myself watching it and I was like, damn, like this is pretty sick. So yeah, I was happily proven wrong by the first Omen. And that's all I'm gonna say about that one. All right.
Yep.
Number 8. Sam, take it away.
All right, you've mentioned this one, and this one actually did make my top 10. Knowing who I am, you already probably saw this coming. Knowing how I feel about found footage, and knowing how I feel about this franchise, VHS Beyond. Also, spoiler alert for those who haven't seen it, knowing how I feel about The Evil Dead, you probably had a feeling that this would make it with the very first segment.
Oh yeah.
But like instead of, all right, spoiler alert, you guys know this is science fiction horror. So like instead of Evil Dead, it's aliens. Like instead of Deadites, it's aliens. Like what a fucking twist. But like it definitely has that cheesy factor to it. With like at least the amount of blood and like guts during like the first, like if definitely feels like a VHS trademark movie, you know what I mean, like VHS TM movie. But that wasn't my favorite segment, if I'm being real. My favorite segment was the dog segment. I'm pretty sure you and it's reminiscent of Tusk.
Yeah.
And like
Okay.
and I'm pretty sure, wasn't it
It was Justin Long that directed it.
exactly.
Oh, no way. Did he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
That's
still
why-
haven't seen
And
VHS Beyond,
his
so-
brother, I believe.
Those are my two. Those two segments were solid for me. Not so much the woman like wanting to like find aliens and then gets shot into space and then she starts like like
I like
that one
that
was-
one. I like that.
that one felt out of place because like it. You probably liked it because it didn't really fit the vibe of the other ones. This one was more like I don't know. I felt like I was watching a Cronenberg movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I hear you. I mean,
But like it was I feel okay. Technically, it was the best segment in terms of filmmaking. I feel that one was the best segment. In terms of my personal biases and things that freak me the fuck out, definitely the dogs.
yeah. That one was absolutely wild. Yeah, Caretaker, we won't get into too many spoilers. But dude, I really liked VHS Beyond. Obviously, like I said, it was just outside of my top 10. You know that I'm super biased toward sci-fi horror.
Oh,
so
for sure.
I loved just the concept of this one pretty much being like all sci-fi, more or less. And on average, like if you take all the segments, I think this was a really, really good VHS film. Like on average, every segment had some high highs and yeah, there were some low lows. Like
The robot singer.
yeah, nobody come for me, but the Indian segment was my least favorite. Not for that reason, just I think that one was just the least interesting. I think once it really got going, it was super cool, but it took a little bit too long, I think, to get going.
I agree. That was my qualm with it
Yeah.
because like the story unraveling felt like it was intentionally dragged out for like us to have some sort of eureka moment and like try to figure it out.
Yeah.
But it wasn't paced well, and the dialogue, I guess it's maybe just like a culture thing. I felt like the script in that one was like really weak and very like, I don't know, like it was written by like a high schooler, like the way the characters interacted with each other. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's not how people talk, but it could just be like a cultural thing. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
But that one definitely was the weakest segment for me. The strongest segment, technically, was, you know, the woman that was like
Yeah.
solo in the whole thing. But my favorite segment, definitely the dogs, and I loved like the Evil Dead like love letter at the beginning. That one was pretty dope. But like overall, like all the segments besides the one with the solo lady felt like classic VHS. But it felt like the reason why this didn't even make it to my top 5 because this felt like it was a. Let me know if you know what I'm saying. This felt like, so you know how they have Paranormal Activity movies,
Mm-hmm.
and then like they'll have like a bootleg Paranormal Activity movie called like Paranormal Haunting.
Yeah.
Like this felt like it was trying to be a VHS movie, and it didn't feel like an actual VHS movie. That's what it felt like to me.
Okay.
Um, I felt like that's because like 50% of it was good. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and usually, yeah, like, but like, I feel like a lot of VHS segments have like their redeemable qualities, but for half of these, I just felt like it was missing something. And no offense to the directors, but like, this didn't feel like a passion project.
Sure.
It just felt like, hey, let's make some segments for a VHS movie. So,
I think definitely the fact that it was pretty much all like sci-fi slanted may have had something to do with that for you. And I can totally understand that in general, because I feel like with every other VHS movie, even if it's like kind of gimmicked toward a certain year or era or something like that, each short film segment is kind of its own thing, whereas here, it's primarily like aliens or something like that. So maybe that had like something to do with it. But like I said, I'm definitely biased toward the aliens. I think every segment was at least like pretty good. The skydiving and the Indian one were probably my least favorites, but I really loved the first one. I liked the dog one. And then the final one, I think for me the reason I liked it the most was because it was technically really impressive, but it also felt like maybe the most sci-fi to me, and also just maybe some bonus points because actually, Caretaker, you probably enjoy this. Kate Siegel, the wife of Mike Flanagan, directed that one, and I think Mike
Mm.
Flanagan had something to do with it. Yeah, so I enjoyed that part too.
I don't know how to explain it. Like, here's how I don't know. Maybe it's just the tism, but like, I felt like that segment, it was so effective because you can be watching that in your living room can be filled with people, but as you're watching it, you feel alone. Like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I don't
Right.
know how to explain it. It's just a very like not even existential dread. Like it's more of a like, dude, I don't even know how to. It just made me feel very uncomfortable
Hmm.
and very like, I don't want to say depressed. Like I don't know why it almost like there was something existential about it to me, not just like alien wise. I don't know. I felt like there was some deeper allegory to it that I can't put my finger on, but like I felt like it was like a touch, like there was something like about existentialism in
Hmm.
that, like or like be careful what you're looking for. I don't want to think that that's like the like message behind that one, because I feel like that would, knowing like her directing it, it would be disingenuous of anyone to be like, yeah, that's the takeaway from that one. But like Caretaker, when you watch that one, you'll see what I mean. Like you will watch that and feel the most alone you've ever felt watching a movie. It was very like
Hmm.
I don't know. I was depressed. I don't know why. I just felt very uneasy. Very, I don't know. It just had that harrowing vibe to it. And then like
Yeah.
it, I don't know. It just was just so like I don't know, unfortunate. You know what I mean? Like that's the best word I could come up
Yeah.
with. I just felt gross. Like I just felt yucky after watching it. I needed to watch some South Park after it if I'm being for real. It was very effective.
Cleanse yourself.
Yes.
All right, Caretaker, what is your number 8 film?
Okay. So my number 8 film is something that's I don't know, maybe on both your guys' list. I'm not really sure. But it's something that we talked about earlier this year on the pod, which is Long Legs.
Yeah.
Um, Long Legs, I was fortunate enough to see twice. I'm pretty sure I talked about that on the podcast before as well. But so I got a pretty good grasp on that movie. And yeah, I mean, we talked about it at length when we did the episode, so I don't think we need to do that again. But overall, I thought that that was a really good experience. It was even better the second time around. So it like, basically just solidified that for me that it was just a very good movie and at least very enjoyable for me. And I thought that the cinematography, just everything from a technical standpoint, I thought in that film was done really, really well. And had just some images that have been burnt into my mind ever since I saw it.
Mhm.
And yeah, there was a lot to really like about it. So, yeah, I think that's all I have to say about it for right now because we already talked about it. But,
Yeah. One of the most controversial films of the entire year, for sure.
mhm.
Just divided a whole spectrum of people. But for me personally, I mean, yeah, we talked about it. I also really, really enjoyed this movie for all the reasons that you mentioned. I mean, if you want all our reasonings, folks, go listen to the podcast episode about it. But I think this was just a super well crafted movie. I can totally see people's opinions about how the story unfolded or how it ended, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I can even agree with some of that stuff, but I think overall it's just a super effective film. I love the sort of true crime aspect to it mixed with the supernatural aspect to it. Nicolas Cage obviously delivered one of the more iconic performances, not only of the year, but maybe of the last like few years. Just a really, really cool character. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just such a unique film. So I can totally vibe with that placement for sure. All right. Well, my number 8, boys, is one that's definitely I think a bias for me for sure. This is a super fun flick, super entertaining creature feature, and one just like from the premise alone I vibed with just from the get-go, and it is Abigail.
Mm.
I feel it.
Okay,
I don't know,
fair.
man. This movie is just so much fun. You guys know that vampire flicks are my favorite. And I mean,
Yes.
from Dusk Till Dawn being like my favorite movie, if you stick a vampire, like if you stick people in like a trapped location with a vampire or vampires, I don't know, it just automatically makes me giddy. And I love the way this
Same.
one was executed. Like, it was funny. It was, I mean, not like scary at times, but it definitely had some suspenseful moments, a lot of action, great gore, excellent effects. I love the use of the setting. The set design was great. Obviously, the supporting cast was awesome. Angus Cloud, rest in peace. You
Mm-hmm.
know, Catherine Newton was fantastic. Melissa Barrera was great. Dan Stevens, one of the best supporting performances I think of the year.
Fuck yeah, he
Um,
was great.
Kevin Durant, Giancarlo
Yeah,
Esposito, like the whole cast was
The
excellent.
dude, whoever
they were.
chose, whoever was like the casting like
Yeah, knocked it out of the
director or
park.
whatever the fuck. Holy fuck.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you know, Radio Silence, and they just make like super enjoyable movies. So I definitely saw like a lot of influence from, you know, Ready or Not, which is another just modern classic in my opinion, and just like a comfort watch. And you know, this has become a comfort watch to me. Surprisingly, this was one of the few movies I actually rewatched this year. And I just had to, because I have such a blast with this movie from like beginning to end. It doesn't take long to get into the meat and potatoes of it, you know, and like very quickly they get into the house and you get the lockdown, and then not too long after that, boom, vampire ballerina. And it's just a blast
Mm-hmm.
from there on. So I can't really say much more than that. I just had like a super fun time with it, and it was just done well for, like, for what it is. So
Definitely. Yeah, I agree. It was. I mean, that's why it was an honorable mention. It was just outside my top. So
all right, number 7, Sam, go ahead.
All right, this one may surprise you guys. The fact that I put it on here, it's not a bad movie. Um, Knowing horror franchises and knowing that after the first movie of a franchise gets released, we all expect them to flop. This one didn't, and my number 7 is a big horror movie, and it is Smile 2.
Nice.
I
yeah,
watched this one super
cool.
recently, and yo, the best thing this movie made me do is feel like such bad like secondhand embarrassment at like
Mhm.
the charity ball or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Oh,
Holy
phenomenal scene, dude.
Yeah, that was a
bro,
great scene.
I literally looked away and covered my ears for like 2 seconds, and I was like, no, I gotta see what's going on. I was so shocked that this one was good as well. Like
Mhm.
don't usually expect much from Hollywood horror, especially like stuff like this, but Smile 2 had its fucking moments. My only gripe with it really was like, I mean, it ended how we all thought it was going to end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in our category of horror movies called no hope horror, and this is the epitome of that. And I thought it was shot very well.
Mm-hmm.
I thought like the special effects were pretty cool, even when there was like kind of like ones, like it didn't like take away from the story. And then the whole like we had some moments of like, is this real? Is this happening? Is this not? And had you thinking it was, and then it wasn't, and then you had you thinking it wasn't, and then it was. So it was good at that teeter tottering. I was actually surprised. I watched this one I think 2 months ago, and I don't know. I did not expect it to be good because everyone was saying it was good, and I'm like, well, yeah, it's a big Hollywood horror movie, like just like The Conjuring 2, which I was not a fan of, and everyone thought it was great. I thought it was gonna be another one of those scenarios, but it wasn't, and I was pleasantly surprised. And nothing special, nothing. It wasn't innovating. It wasn't none of that stuff. I just felt like the the pacing was done well. the The script was fine. The beginning was bonkers. Like this one, you just get right into it as well, like
Yeah.
straight to the meat and potatoes. And I like that because I was watching this one when I had like a week of like straight attention span problems. My ADHD was getting the best of me with this weather, and I don't know. I'm just in a funk during like when it gets dark at like 4:30 p.m. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And this movie was like, all right, it got me. It got me the behavior momentum to start like being able to sit down and watch stuff. And I don't know. I thought it was pretty solid. I very little complaints about it, other than like the ending. And it. Another thing I liked about it is it was a long movie. Did not feel very long. So
Right.
great job, Smile too. We sometimes Hollywood horror can be done right,
True.
and it didn't. I mean, it didn't even come out like that much longer after the original one. That's why I thought it was going to be a stinker. So it pleasantly surprised me.
Yeah, honestly, I was also pleasantly surprised by it. You guys probably know I'm not super huge on the first Smile. I think I mean, there's some good parts to it, but I think it's definitely a bit redundant of a lot of other, curse horror films out there. But Smile 2, on the other hand, I think it was a really good choice to take this concept and put it into like such just a larger sphere with focusing on this pop star, and she's already got a lot of trauma. I think the movie really did an excellent job of compounding her existing trauma with this curse, and just the spiral into insanity throughout the entire film
know.
was just, I
It was
think,
hard to watch.
so
Honestly.
good. Yeah. And then Naomi
Mm-hmm.
Scott, just amazing. I mean, if you guys
Yeah.
saw my awards on social media, she was my best actress of the year, which was a
She definitely
super
was.
super tough category this year because there were so many incredible female performances, but I
Yeah.
just could not look past Naomi Scott in this film. Her paranoia, her trauma, her like constant emotional ups and downs, it was all just portrayed so well. And I mean, she carried this movie for me, but I did like that it took what the first movie did and really made it a lot bigger.
Yeah. I just amped it up.
And that, yeah, that just creates like so much more like tension throughout the film. But kind of like what you said, Sam, I think, the ending, I think in a way was cool because it was like, holy shit, like they really did that, and like what's to come of it. But I don't really think that this movie actually did much differently in terms of the story and the like the lore and the world building and all that the first movie all like already did. Like I really don't think it added much to that. So while it was a cool like character kind of focus with this curse, I don't really think the story was that great, and that's the only reason
No,
why
and
I would not rate it as highly.
look, I understand. Like I always say, like there needs to be some mystique and some mystery, but like with movies like this, there needs to be like I don't know, at least some sort of like explanation. Like even
Yeah.
like I know they're not gonna do it because this movie's just about trauma, and It Follows is like about like you can't escape death, or like just like Michael Myers walks and you'll never get away from him. He'll always catch up. Same thing with death. Like, like it's part of, it's natural, it's inevitable, and I don't know. It sounds weird. This movie made me excited for the It Follows sequel. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure. Yeah.
Mhm.
so I was like, okay, if they could do it right, then
All right. Well,
Yeah.
Caretaker, what is your number 7 movie?
Okay. So my number 7. This one might be pretty surprising to a lot of people listening, and maybe even to you guys. But this is a film that I thought, uh, I don't know, just when I saw it, I connected with it a lot, and I really liked it way more than I was anticipating, and it just, I don't know, it just did a lot for me when I saw it, and I was just like really just surprised at how much I really enjoyed it. And that movie is A Quiet Place Day One.
oh wow.
Yeah, I know. I expected that reaction. I bet people who are listening are saying the same thing. Um, but yeah, I don't know. There was just something about this one. I believe that it is. Yeah, no, it not. I believe. I'm pretty confident that this is probably my favorite out of all three of them.
Hmm.
And I know that a lot of people, love the first one because of. I mean, the first one was great. Don't get me wrong. The first one was great. I thought the second one was very good too. Um, but this one, just to me, the performances did so much for me. Between how do you say her last name?
Nyong'o, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, Lupita Nyong'o. She was phenomenal. And then,
Joseph Quinn.
yeah, Joseph Quinn.
Oh, he's in that.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Oh, I
performances
might watch it now.
from these two characters, and these two actors were just so fucking good. At
Mhm.
least to me, like they really like sold me on this world and what was going on. Plus I felt like this one was a much deeper character study for Samira, I think was her name. That's Lupita Nyong'o's character. And because it was just such an interesting angle, and this is not a spoiler, but because it starts off like this, but she is, she's in a home, because she's dying, so she's in like a, like a nursing, uh home for like people that are, going to be dying pretty soon. So it starts off like that, and you find this stuff out about her character, and she's very, nihilistic in her approach to life. And then, all of this, shit hits the fan, with the aliens falling from the sky, and everything just takes a complete turn. And just witnessing her character go through this story and go through these horrors, um, is really fascinating. And I thought that her performance and just even the writing of the film, I thought was done really well. Um, and yeah, I personally, like, I just connected a lot with it, and I thought it was really, really well done. I know not everybody felt that way about it. I know most, the consensus is, I think, most people liked it. But I just don't think everybody was as high on it as I am. I think a lot of people like the first or the second better. But for me, I think that this is probably my favorite of the three. And yeah, just the performances were great. I just emotionally, I really connected to it, and yeah, there was a lot to love. And there's a cat named Frodo,
Yeah.
and that was dope too. The cat was sweet. So yeah,
I think
so
that's super valid, dude. I mean, I had a great time watching this in the theater. Coming away from it, like, and trying and like doing a ranking and all that stuff. It wasn't as high for me personally, but I completely understand like why you would feel that way about it. I think for me, I thought it was a good Quiet Place movie, and I've talked to other people about this before too, and I don't want to get into a long-winded conversation about it, but for me, it just kind of felt like a little pointless. I know that it was like showing us kind of like the initial invasion of the aliens and everything. And I think the New York setting was a really cool place to do that, given how loud it usually is. And
Yeah.
then you do get a little bit of God, I'm going to butcher his name, Jimon Hanso's character in
Yeah.
that as well. So having
True.
seen the first two movies, you get a little bit of that, but still, even with all that, I was like I don't know if this movie was really like super necessary. However, I did enjoy it for the reasons that you said. I don't know if I connected to it as emotionally as you did, but I do think the performances were great. I think the two leads had a lot of chemistry, surprisingly,
Mm-hmm.
especially given like their characters. There was a lot of good back and forth and good character development. There were some tragic moments and everything.
Yep.
And the aliens, of course, were cool. There were some good suspenseful moments and effects. So I can
Mm-hmm.
totally get down with that.
Yeah, yeah, and like you said, I didn't mention it, but yeah, the New York City setting was great because the way that they utilized just the sound in New York City
Hmm.
and all of the people in New York City, and when all of this this took place and the aliens landed, and even after, like just what you know what it's like in a loud place like that with so many people, and how some of the sounds can mask certain things. And I thought it played in that really well too. But yeah, emotionally, that was what really sold me on it. I just, for whatever reason, I was able to just really connect deeply with it, and it took me on a roller coaster of emotions, and I loved it for that reason, and that's why it's there.
Yep, for sure. All right, moving on. My number 7. Uh, any other year, I think, would have been maybe in my top 3. And maybe it's the fact that it's a little bit less of a horror movie than everything above it. However, I do think
I
that
think I know what you're gonna say.
I think there are some great horror elements in it. And overall, it's just, to me, a great film. And it is Strange Darling. Now, is that the one you were thinking of, Sam?
No,
Okay,
honestly.
okay. Well, we'll see if maybe it comes up. You'll have to tell me later what you thought it was. But I really, really enjoyed Strange Darling. This one I think I saw toward the tail end of 2024. And immediately, I had kind of known that it was not told in a linear fashion, which I was like, okay, cool. You know, um, it's a little bit of a gimmick, but I think if there's a purpose to it and it's done right, it's a super effective structural writing method. And I think this movie did it well. Besides that, I really didn't know too much else about it. It immediately puts you in this situation with this woman, played by Willa Fitzgerald, running away from a guy, Kyle Gallner. So immediately you're thinking like, okay, like he's a serial killer or he's going after her for some kind of reason. Anyway, the movie really messes with your perception of the characters and the events, and then displacing you in time with all these like different chapters of the movie getting shifted around in the timeline really fucks with like, okay, what actually is happening, what's the order of events, is this character who they say they are, and then it unfolds. So I think that the movie did a great job of building that up and then just unraveling everything. And then, as I was going to say from the get-go, this also really gave me like a Quentin Tarantino type vibe, just in the way that it was shot and edited and colored and everything. I don't know if that was the intent, but you get some cool like whip pans and stuff like that. And it's got this really vibrant kind of color scheme. And then the way that it introduces like some of the chapters and like the title card and stuff like that felt kind of Tarantino-esque to me. And he's one of my favorite directors. So
Mm-hmm.
immediately I was like, okay, I can get down with this.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that was cool. It did have some horror elements. Like I said, I'm not going to get too into it for anybody who hasn't seen it. But there's that. I thought the performances were fantastic. Willa Fitzgerald especially did a great job. Kyle Gallner just killed it this year. I mean, him in this movie, he was in Smile 2. Was he in something else? I don't know, but
Dude, it wasn't a horror movie, but it was a like it was a drama.
okay.
It was very good. I actually watched it not too long ago. It was Dinner in America. If you guys saw
Oh,
that,
yeah, I
Oh
actually
yeah,
did
I
just see
wanted
that.
to.
I
wanted to
love
see
that movie.
That was a good film for sure.
Made me cry. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, no, that was actually a really solid film. My wife actually really likes that movie and showed it to me, and
Same, literally
I
same.
can agree. Yeah, it was a good
Mm.
film. But yeah, he's fantastic. Will Fitzgerald in this movie's great. And their chemistry in this movie is just lights out. So I really enjoyed it.
Yep.
All right, number 6, Sam. What do you got?
Number 6 is the movie I thought you were gonna say.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if this made it to your guys' top. This was beautifully shot, well acted, wasn't exactly horror, had some 70s vibes to it, and I'm of course talking about Maxine.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I hear you.
I thought this was one of the most beautifully shot movies of this year. It was so like such giallo inspiration,
Mhm.
but I don't know about you guys. I definitely guessed like who the quote unquote Night Stalker was by the maybe about halfway through the movie.
Yeah, I had a feeling on what that. I was kind of hoping that it wouldn't unfold that way, but yeah, I had a feeling.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't take away from it for me. I definitely thought this was probably the weakest movie in the trilogy. Let's be real.
I can agree with that.
Mhm. Yeah, I
But
agree with that.
it definitely made my top just because like it felt so big. It felt
Hmm.
so Hollywood, and I think that's what they were going for. You see, as like these like Ty West movies progress, like I guess like the budget gets bigger, and like the first one was like I don't know, it's like Texas Chainsaw Massacre with old people. The second one was just batshit fucking insane. I won't even talk about that one because I loved it, but like it was batshit crazy. And then the third one, you know, it's very Hollywood because by this time, like Ty West has essentially gone Hollywood, and I don't know. This was one of the biggest movies of the year, like period in horror. Well, especially in
Mhm.
horror, but it was it was sad at some points. It was really sad. For me at least, but I thought it was beautifully shot. I thought it was paced very well. Um I can nitpick like a few things here and there that I didn't like, you know, I thought I don't want to I thought the script was kind of okay. The script wasn't like super strong, and like Maxine kind of gets on my fucking nerves. Maybe because like I think Mia Goth kind of gets on my nerves, but um I thought it was beautifully fucking shot, man. I think that's mainly why it made it into my top. But like I love the whole like giallo vibes it brung. Like I haven't watched a giallo in I think it's been years since I've even watched a giallo, and I felt like I was like watching Tenebrae 2 or something like that as I was
Yeah.
watching this movie.
Yeah.
Definitely a lot of Italian horror inspiration in this one,
For
and
sure.
it was predictable and it was very Hollywood, and I feel like by this time Ty West, I don't want to say he sold out. You know what I mean? But like at this point, like we knew this was the end of it. So we kind of knew in the direction that this would go ever since we saw her preacher daddy in the first one at the end of the movie being like, my daughter got taken by these devils or whatever the fuck he was saying. We knew which route it was going, but like I feel like for another Hollywood horror movie on my list, this one I was not surprised by. I already had like decent expectations for this movie, and I felt like my expectations were met because I I don't have super crazy expectations. I don't expect like a million twists and a convoluted plot. I felt like this was a very simple movie, but the I felt like it still had some soul in it for being like a Hollywood flick. You know what I mean? I don't
Yeah.
know.
I mean,
Yeah.
go ahead. Caretaker.
No, yeah, I understand what you're saying. Like, the vibe. I mean, the vibe of the movie was definitely there. Like the way it was shot and the vibe, I thought was fucking awesome. And you could tell it was going to be awesome just based on just look from the trailers and the early, the at the end of Pearl, when you saw kind of just even the text of Maxine,
Mm-hmm.
and you could tell like, okay, like Ty West is gonna make something pretty cool with it. So like I liked it from that perspective. Um, but yeah, Maxine did not make my top 10. However, I do think that probably on a second watch, I'm going to like it more than I did the first watch. And I also think that like I do think that it was a good movie. Don't get me wrong. I didn't think it was bad. I just there were things that I just felt like could have probably been done a little bit better
For sure.
overall. And the closure that I got with it wasn't the exact thing that I was kind of hoping for. But overall, like it did a lot of really cool things, and just the overall vibe of it, like you said, Sam, is was fucking awesome. So I do think that upon rewatch, I'm going to like it a lot more, and I am really looking forward to watching it a second time.
Same.
So there is that.
Yeah, I can agree with all that. It did not make my top 10 either. I was obviously super excited about this film, having loved Pearl so much, especially, and really enjoying X.
Hmm.
And I think like he definitely took a lot of what made those two movies good and put it into this. But yeah, maybe the ambition was a little too much in this movie. I think he definitely tried to put, a bunch of references in. I mean, with the whole 80s vibe
Hmm.
and the whole like murder mystery component, and then the point of the actual plot woven into there, and then trying to like shove in all these like side characters, and then expanding on Maxine's character. It was a lot, and I think that it just becomes a little bit overburdened at times. And then I wasn't a huge fan of how the story actually ended up like unfolding that much either. So the third act for me was a little bit of a letdown.
Hmm.
But I agree. I think on a rewatch, I'll probably like this movie a little bit
I think
more
just the
for sure.
premise of it had to lead to the point of like her dad being
Yeah.
like the culprit. If
Spoiler
there was
alert.
like a different premise, like there would have been like a better place for the movie
Sure.
to end up. But like the fact that they chose it to be like her breaking through in Hollywood, it was like, kind of like Ty West
Mm-hmm.
breaking through into Ty West is Maxine. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that's how I felt watching it, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cute. Like this is your breaking into Hollywood movie, and she's in Hollywood. Ah, good
Yeah.
one.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
know?
All right.
That's understandable.
Yeah. All right. Caretaker, want to share your number 6 film?
Yes. So my number 6 film, um, is I don't know if it might be on your top. I'm not really sure, but I know Sam has already mentioned it, and he hasn't seen it yet though.
Okay.
And but that is The Substance.
Nice.
So The Substance, I got to see. That was my birthday movie this past year. So I went on my birthday to go see that, and man, that was a ride. That was a wild ride, and I knew it was going to be. I figured that it was going to be, because of the director's previous work, um, Revenge. That was a wild ride as
Mm-hmm.
well, and I fucking loved that movie when I first saw it. And I went in pretty much completely blind, and The Substance was something that another one, like I knew the premise, and that's all I need to know. I didn't really see much like many of the later trailers. I don't know if I even ever watched the first trailer all the way through. But I did know the premise, and that was enough for me. I love sci-fi horror, and body horror. So I was immediately sold on the premise. So I was fucking pumped when I saw like, oh, that's gonna be my fucking birthday movie this year. Hell yeah. And I went to go see it, and man, from the opening shot to the closing shot, I was pretty much smiling from cheek to cheek, and like just glamour in my eyes, and I was just fucking I had such a good time with this movie, and yeah, it was a ride. The performance by Demi Moore, fucking phenomenal. I know we've already kind of talked about the female performances this year, and there are so many great ones, and Demi Moore is another one that just stands out to me at least. That she killed it in this role, and yeah, this is a fucking comeback movie for her, big time. Like
Oh yeah.
she fucking knocked this role out of the park, and and the gore, the premise, the some of the way that it was shot, like the way that it looked, everything about it, the references towards other films that you've seen before, just everything about it was so fucking cool. It just kept getting more and more crazy and more berserk as it went on, and I was having such a fucking ball watching this movie. So
I might have to
that's
watch it now.
that's why it's my number 6. And I got to mention, I did mention Demi Moore, but I got to mention Margaret Qualley. She was fucking awesome in this movie as well. And then Dennis Quaid, of course.
Well,
Can't forget
fucking
Dennis
Dennis
Quaid. Dude, Dennis Quaid's character, bro, he plays the sleaziest motherfucker. And he is he's so good
He is
at
so
playing the sleaziest motherfucker. Like, he needs to play more sleaze bags, bro.
Mm-hmm.
He is so fucking good in this movie. And the way that they shoot his scenes too, so uncomfortable, but man, was it shot fucking perfectly. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a movie shoot a sleaze bag so fucking perfectly. Like, the way that he was shot in this movie, like, yeah, that fucking stands out like a fucking sore thumb. It is crazy. But yeah, overall, what a good fucking time The Substance was.
I can agree with that. I'm not going to say too much about it, but I really had very few expectations. I don't want to say low expectations because that's not true. I had just few expectations about this movie going in. I also pretty much just knew the premise, and that's kind of it. I think I may have seen a trailer, but I mostly went into it pretty blind just to do my review. And then, man, I was blown away. Like, every aspect of this movie was so well thought out, well conceived, well executed, expertly directed, phenomenal performances. You mentioned Demi Moore. Shout out to Homegirl for winning the Golden Globe in an absolutely stacked year of female performances, not just in horror, but in general. Beating out some other favorites, and well deserved. Dennis Quaid, phenomenal. Margaret Qualley, phenomenal. Yeah, man. I'm not gonna get into too much more into it right now, but completely valid.
Yeah. As I'm talking about it, I'm like, damn, you know what? I probably like this movie more than a couple of my others that I got higher than it.
Hey,
but it's what it is.
It's too late now.
A lot of these are interchangeable anyway.
Sure.
So, you know, a lot of them are like right on the same wavelength. So,
yeah.
But yeah, The Substance fucking rocked. And yeah, that's why it's there.
For sure.
Might have even should have been higher, but hey, is what it is.
That's all right. That's all right. All right. My number 6 is one that I'm pretty positive neither of you have seen, and also kind of flew under the radar this year. I think the people who have seen it are pretty impressed by it. I'm also a little bit biased toward it because I have an affinity for Asian horror. And this is one I've told you about, Caretaker, I know, but my number 6 film is Exuma.
I've heard of it.
Yep.
This one I believe is on Shudder now. Definitely won't be for everybody, but because it's probably not on a lot of people's radars, I'll just read you. This is the letter. This is the letterbox. I'm feeling lazy. After tracing the origin of a disturbing supernatural affliction to a wealthy family's ancestral gravesite, a team of paranormal experts relocates the remains and soon discovers what happens to those who dare to mess with the wrong grave. Now, this is a little bit of a longer film. There's actually quite a lot that goes into the plot. But man, I don't know. I was really, really taken with this movie. I think the overall atmosphere is really fantastic. You get so many really haunting, beautiful shots of like this foggy Korean countryside, which just really suck you in. There's a lot of really excellent suspenseful moments in these interior shots, and I just really like the way that the story unfolds. It's super unique. You follow these grave site relocators. I mean, when do you ever follow that kind of a character in a horror movie or any movie really? But it ties into the plot so well, I think, because as they dig into this case, they unearth, pun intended, um, more and more kind of secrets and mysteries and so much like really interesting stuff about what's going on in this story. And I think I had no idea where this was going to go, but where it went was actually really, really cool. Dives into a lot of like Korean like folklore and mythology, and I just think it's expertly directed on a technical level. It's phenomenal, really beautiful cinematography, great score, everything. I mean, Choi Min Sik is the lead in this. You probably know him as the serial killer in I Saw the Devil, and then in Old Boy, as well as a few other phenomenal movies. And did an equally excellent job in this. The supporting cast was also great. I think I actually, well, the director I think was nominated in my best directors. So just a really, really cool movie. Definitely won't be for everybody, but if you have the patience for it, then I think it's super worth it, because it's just a unique story, and I really like the way that it's told.
Yeah, I need to see it. It's one that I know of, and I'd like to see it. Just haven't yet.
It's a cool one. All right, now we're getting into the thick of it. Top 5.
Oh God.
Sam,
All right.
Sam, let's start off with you.
My number 5 is the movie that made me the most uncomfortable this year. I have never looked away from a horror movie as much as I did this. I have not cringed as much as I have watching this. I have not gotten the chills. My fiance literally walked out of the room and said, I can't watch this right now. You guys know what I'm talking about. It is Terrifier 3.
Yeah.
Holy shit. I have never, ever been more disgusted at a fucking movie. The bone breaking, the like pulling on the broken bones with the flesh tearing. Bro, need I fucking say more? Holy shit, I've never been so uncomfortable. Ever. Jesus H fuck. Jesus H fuck.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, there's not even much more that needs to be said.
This movie did almost nothing really for the story besides like our heroine is traumatized and the clown might come back, and then he does, and then I thought it was like a dream sequence when he finally showed up.
It
Like,
felt that way. It did feel that way a little
like
bit.
I thought that, oh, this isn't happening, and then it totally was. It was kind of jarring. I didn't think this was the best Terrifier movie. I definitely thought, in terms of feel, this was like the weakest Terrifier movie. But holy fuck, it made up for it in the amount of sheer fucking
brutality,
gore. Holy
bro.
shit.
Yeah.
This was the most brutal horror movie I've watched. And I've watched fucking Subconscious Cruelty and fucking Melancholy of the Angel and really fucked up. Barnabas knows about this. I had a period in my life where I was watching really fucked up horror movies and they almost sent me into like a psychotic episode. But this one was just fucking disgusting. Like, holy shit. Oh, didn't tell you guys. For Christmas, my fiance got me HorrorCon tickets for March, so I'm gonna go meet David
Nice.
Howard Thornton finally in
Ooh.
March.
Oh, sick.
That's awesome, dude. Well, that'll be a really cool experience, man.
Very excited. That's
Yeah.
pretty much all I had to say about this movie
Okay.
because this isn't a Terrifier episode, but
Yeah.
oh my god, I was so fucking uncomfortable.
I had this movie in my top 10 for a minute too. But yeah, I don't think it's the weakest Terrifier necessarily. There were definitely a lot of great things about it. Obviously, they upped a lot of the gore and brutality, and definitely went into some taboo subjects. And there were definitely some really cringe inducing kills for sure. The practical effects were phenomenal and everything. Obviously, Lauren Lavera and David Howard Thornton knocked it out of the park. I mean, I don't necessarily agree with people who said that, it did nothing for the story. I know you didn't say that, but I do think it added some interesting elements to the lore that was presented in 2. And the way it ended, I actually liked the way it ended. And so it made me even more excited to see the next film.
I get that. Yeah, I'm
But
definitely excited because I'm like, where is this gonna go?
yeah,
Like, are we doing Easter next though? You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
not in a bad
Mhm.
way,
I
but it's like, damn, he's taking over all the fucking holidays.
I know. I mean, the Christmas
Yeah.
stuff was cool, but I don't know. Maybe it took away a little bit just because it felt like such a focus of the movie. I mean, it was like a huge part of like all the marketing leading up to it and everything, and all that stuff. So I don't know if it necessarily took away from like where the story could have gone. I feel like Damien Leone probably did go where he wanted to go in this movie.
It was
And
our generation's Silent Night, Deadly Night when you think
yeah,
about it.
sure. But yeah, I don't want to say too much more than that. But it was a really really solid sequel, and I still had like a great time with it. So
Yeah, I agree. I had a great time with it too. Like I said earlier, it was an honorable mention of mine. Um, yeah, I agree with pretty much most of the things that both you guys said. It did raise some interesting questions by the end of the film.
mhm.
So I'm very curious to see kind of where the fourth one will take us, and if we'll get answers to some of those questions. I assume that we will, at least a few of them. And Yeah, it was brutal as fuck. You got more of what you really enjoyed about the first two, and yeah, personally, I don't think it was the weakest either. I think for me the first one's probably the weakest out of the three. But I think I probably like the second one better, still. But I will rewatch the third one just to be sure because I had a great time with the third one. So yeah.
Agreed. All right, Caretaker, what's your number 5 film?
All right, my number 5 is so it's this one also might surprise both you guys. This one is something that we talked about earlier, and that is Smile 2.
Nice.
It
Not
is,
surprised, honestly. It was solid, man. Like, I
yeah.
don't ever feel bad for putting like a Hollywood horror movie because I used to be like that. I'm like, I can't, but I'm done being a hipster, and I truly just want to like, you can admire, like, there's a reason they're Hollywood horror. You know what I mean? There's a reason they made it there. So
hmm You love what you love, man.
Yeah.
And for me, the first Smile did a lot for me, and it impacted me a lot when I saw it. Just I don't know, like, and it's funny too because when I saw the trailers, because like they advertised that movie like fucking just
hardcore,
like
yeah.
Yeah.
fucking crazy,
Yeah.
bro, for fucking ever. And then it finally came out, and I was just like, yeah, it looks kind of dumb. Like I wasn't really looking forward to it, and
Yeah,
I
I
ended
get
up going to
that.
see it on like free popcorn Tuesday with Kayla, um and I just was like completely fucking enamored the whole time that I was seeing the first one. And so fast forward now, the second one, obviously I loved the first one and I loved it upon rewatches that I've had. And yeah, the second one I thought just amped it up a little bit. And I don't know which one I like better at this point in time. I think I really like them both a lot. So I'm not sure which one I like better, but yeah, Smile 2 was like you said earlier about it, like the cinematography was fucking awesome from the moment it starts. It puts you in such a like this fucking awesome one take shot first of
Mhm.
all,
Yeah.
That was
and
dope.
yeah, it was sick as fuck. And like, so I didn't see the whole thing twice, but the first experience that I had with this movie, I'll just quickly say I saw it at an advanced screening, and with a friend of mine, and we sat. The guys sitting behind us would just not shut the fuck up, and they were like giggling and making jokes and like laughing and like talking like they're at home on their couch, like smoking weed together, just having a fucking ball.
Mhm.
And I'm like, like me and my buddy like asked him to, just like quiet down a couple times, because even the people beside us were like, like what the fuck. And then they were just being rude, obnoxious people, and it just really sucked. So we ended up leaving early because it was completely like ruining the experience of the movie. Because I mean, you guys know a lot. I mean, any film, especially like a film like Smile though, or like a horror film, that like you really want to be like engrossed in that
Mhm.
atmosphere, and you want to really experience the movie the way that it was supposed to be experienced, and you don't want to have disruptive fucking assholes sitting around you fucking making fun of the movie and like completely pulling you out of that immersive experience.
Yeah,
And
that
so yeah,
sucked.
it fucking sucked, dude. So we ended up leaving early, and I hated it, but I was just like, you know what? I'd rather see I'd rather rewatch this movie in a better environment and be in the right mindset than watch the whole movie right now and be upset
Yeah.
and irritated the whole time that I'm watching it and not get, what I wanted to get out of it. And at least and give the respect, to the movie that it deserves. So so that's what happened the first time. So I've seen the movie like 1.5 times, I guess you could say.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, we left early enough before like shit really hit the fan in the movie. But to go back to the movie itself, when I finally was able to see it, in its entirety, it just, from the opening shot, that opening scene was fucking awesome. And then it takes you on this ride with this, this pop star, who gets this, this supernatural disease or whatever you want to call it, and just, like you guys said earlier, amps up the stakes. And her trauma was a really good and interesting direction to take the series to those heights. And I thought Naomi Scott, she, like you said earlier, Bart, I know you said you gave her the best actress award for the year. She was fucking phenomenal,
Mhm.
dude. Like, I loved her.
It was
And like,
crazy how good she was.
dude, yeah, she was so good. Like, dude, like I know you mentioned it earlier, that scene when she's at, doing the uh in front of everybody, talking off the teleprompter.
Yeah.
And her, just the way that she like handles her emotions and bounces kind of back and forth between trying to be like completely normal but like completely losing her fucking shit. And it's just, the control that she had throughout that performance was just so fucking good. But man, there are so many scenes in this movie that are just, they just stick out, dude. Like, I mean, that's one of them, the teleprompter scene. But the scene in the car, when you have that awesome camera work. I mean, personally, I thought it was great. I know some people had an issue with it, but I thought it was fucking great. Just with they set the camera up in between the two characters, and they're just shooting back and forth, just like back and forth, and it really builds this fucking suspense. And you're like on like, you know, pun intended, you're on the edge of your seat the whole time, the way that they kind of are in the car, because you're like, what's going to happen? How does this go down? Because you don't know exactly how it goes down, but they're on the side of a fucking like mountain,
Mhm.
and there's cars like driving past, and you're like, are they going to get hit? Like, what's happening? And then they're arguing, and it's becoming more and more intense. And that scene was fucking awesome too. And there's quite a few scenes like that in the movie. And I'm just, I'm getting really excited talking about it, obviously. I can tell. But yeah, dude, just this movie was just such a good fucking time. And yeah, I just really liked it. I loved it, dude. It was great. So that's why it's my number 5.
Yeah. I think I've already kind of said what I needed to say about Smile 2, so completely understand. My number 5, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on. We've talked about it to death. Is Long Legs.
Mm.
I just really, really like this movie. I definitely want to rewatch it, But upon like my initial watch and the only watch so far, I was just like a huge fan of this movie. I didn't really have any problems with the story. I just loved like the characters. I loved the sinister vibe that it gave off, and I thought that it had some of the creepier scenes of the year. Maybe like you said, not necessarily scary, but just super creepy. The intro, and I especially love that scene where she is like at her house all by herself, like at night, and she sees that like letter from Longlegs or whatever it is, and then you're just like looking around all over the place trying to see like is he there, or like is something there in the shadows or like lurking behind her or something. That whole scene was phenomenal, and I just think the movie had a lot of really cool stuff like that. And yeah, I just really liked it, mostly for the vibes, but
Mhm.
I also think it just did some really unique stuff. All right, let's get into our top four now. Sam, what is your number four?
My number 4, I'm not going to yap about it a lot, but I will yap a little bit. My number 4, you already mentioned Barnabas. It is Abigail. It made it to my top 5. I wasn't planning on watching this. One day my lady was just like, "Hey, I'm putting on Abigail." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I heard about that." Holy cow, such fun
Mm-hmm.
from start to finish. We both love those isolated horror movies. We love like You're Alone with the Vampire. Shout out From the Dark. I love that movie.
Yeah, super
And
underrated.
this one was so funny.
Mm-hmm.
This one was so good. Not scary. You know, it's a horror comedy. Like,
Yeah,
but it made it to my top 5 just because of the vibes it brung. It was the most fun movie of the entire year for me, period.
mm-hmm.
Uh movie in general. My second most fun movie of the year was definitely Wicked. Yeah, I saw Wicked. What of it? Come
Hey,
at me.
me too. Me
So
too.
did I, and I
I
thought it was
fucking
great.
thought Wicked was fire, but Abigail was more fire to
Mhm.
me. Fun from start to finish. We got to meet Dracula at the end, or at least like the modern interpretation of who he is. He has so many names, yada yada yada
Yeah.
yada. And I love the twist in this movie that Abigail is like this old child that just like, and she's like the hitman that everyone was worried about,
Mhm.
and like the confusion it brings amongst everyone, the mistrust.
Yeah.
It was a long movie though. I didn't expect like how it ended. I didn't expect like his right hand man to be like, yeah, fuck him, I'm gonna turn on him and I'm gonna turn you and you're gonna help me. And then he killed him and he's like, actually fuck all you guys. And like he went on like this whole like I'm a vampire power trip and just started dog walking Abigail. And was it Melissa Barrera's character? I can't remember her name, but God, man, what a fun movie from start to finish. If I could, I'd put this at my number 1 because like this one I'm gonna rewatch again.
Yeah.
I have to rewatch this again. This
Mhm.
was the most rewatchable movie out of my list. So
I can agree with that.
I've
Also,
said what I gotta say about it.
also, just last thing, one of the best lines of the year, Sammy, those are fucking onions.
Yes,
Oh
dude.
my
Yes.
God,
I
yes.
cracked the
The
hell up.
garlic.
Oh,
Oh my
fucking
fucking
hilarious,
God, dude.
bro.
This
That
was
so fucking funny.
this was such a solid fucking movie, man. This is one I might go out and get the Blu-ray for.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Mhm.
Alrighty.
Yep.
Caretaker, go
All
ahead
right.
with your number 4. Unless you wanted to say something else about Abigail.
No, I mean, that one was right on the brink, like for me in my honorable mentions. Like I did have a great time with it, and honestly, I do think that it's probably gonna be one that I like even more upon a rewatch.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a thing about like just seeing a lot of these movies one time. It's like sometimes you're a little higher on a movie than you might be a second time, and sometimes you're a little lower on a movie that you might be a second time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but Abigail I thought was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed Abigail too, and the actors, everyone did a great job. But yeah, Sammy, those are fucking onions. That is a
Shit
fucking
was
top tier
fire.
fucking line.
That's
and
like
one of
quote
the
of
best
the-
of the year for sure.
That's like quote of the century.
Yeah.
Yeah. The way, dude, Dan Stevens, the way that he delivered that
I
line
know.
was so fucking perfect,
It
dude.
was.
He was like, it was I died. I died when he said that. I was like, I couldn't get it out of my mind, bro.
I was literally shrieking. I'm not over exaggerating.
It was so fucking good.
It was.
So good. But anyways, okay. So my number 4 movie is one that we haven't mentioned at all yet. So this is interesting, and this might be a surprise. I don't know. I feel like I've had a lot of those on this list today, but and this one's horror adjacent. I know it's not exactly a horror film by definition, but it does deal with a lot of, I think, horrifying aspects. And that movie is It's What's Inside.
Mm-hmm.
It came out on Netflix earlier. Well, not early, but I think mid 2024 sometime,
Yeah.
something like that. Um, and yeah, I had a blast with this movie. If I'm being honest, I didn't know jack fucking shit about it when I saw it. I had just heard like from some different friends that it was pretty good, and even my fiance, she watched it without me, and she was like, she liked it, but she wasn't all about it. But she was like, I think that you'll probably like this one. So finally, when I got the time to watch it, I had a great time with it, man. I thought the premise was really fascinating, and the character relationships with one another, I thought was done really well. It was kind of done in this like bodies, bodies, bodies type of way.
Mm-hmm.
The style and the look of the film, the aesthetic, I thought was really cool. I thought everybody did a pretty nice job with their performances too. I didn't have any issues with those. None of them were like the best of the year per se, but I did think that they were all very good. But overall, I thought this movie was just a good fucking time,
Mm-hmm.
like a really good time. I found myself just having a ball with it, and trying to figure like piece things together and figure out where it was going to go the whole time. Um, so yeah, I had just a very good time. Obviously, I had a great time with the ones that I already listed, and all of these, honestly, like I said earlier, could be interchanged. But this one was a great time. I thought the premise was really interesting. The idea that like switching bodies with another person, um, through this interesting like hardware, this interesting like I forget exactly what it was, but
It's like a
this
switchboard
interesting
or
way.
something, kind of like a
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of it had that like it had this vibe of like an old sci-fi movie in a way.
Mm-hmm.
But just that concept of like potentially being stuck in someone else's body and not being able to recover your own, like you're going on this like trip, and it's almost like this like a drug that you're taking, but it's like you might never fucking recover from it again.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that aspect was the horror of it. And and there are, it does go places, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it yet, but it does go places that I think are pretty horrifying, to say the least. And yeah, I had such a great time with it. I thought it was really well done, and very surprising. But again, another like just one that I had not a fucking clue what it was about, what to expect. I knew nothing about it going in, so I think that was just one of the reasons why I had such a good time with it. And yeah, and then the ending, man, like it like the way everything unfolded was so cool. And yeah, yeah, that's pretty much all I got. I don't want to spoil much, but did you guys both see it?
I've not seen it. This is my first time actually hearing about it.
It's
Oh, okay.
Surprisingly,
it's really cool. Yeah. Don't let anybody tell you that they don't make original movies anymore, because this one definitely was. I like
Mm-hmm.
the bodies comparison because it does have that kind of Gen Z vibe to it. Like all these characters are a little bit younger. There's a lot of that kind of lingo, and just the way that their relationships are shaped.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely kind of has that vibe, and that's really kind of one of the most important elements of the movie. And so I really like how the idea of the swapping bodies affects their relationships with one another, and that's what really carries the movie.
Oh yeah,
And
definitely.
and leads to some really interesting things that come out, like secrets, really interesting developments in the
Mm-hmm.
characters, and then that really just propels the story to some pretty crazy new heights. So yeah, I thought it was super cool. I didn't have it in my top 10, but it was up there. I mean, I definitely can agree with the horror adjacency. It's not like overly horror or anything like that, but that like psychological aspect to it, and like you said, the concept can definitely be very terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I just thought it was a super super well done movie. Definitely surprised me as well. All right, my number 4. We've talked about this one, and as you guys know, I'm probably a little bit higher on the director than maybe a lot of people, I don't know, and definitely his previous movie. So I was super looking forward to this one, and it delivered in spades. I was just really sucked in from the start. I loved the atmosphere, and I think there were some incredibly suspenseful moments. It is Oddity.
Mm.
Like I said, I love the kind of more traditional sort of haunted house feel to it, but obviously there's more to it than that. You've got this sort of character that's not really, like a living character in this wooden mannequin that this blind psychic brings to this house, trying to find answers for her sister that mysteriously died a little while like before the actual like current timeline of the movie happens. And yeah, I just thought there were some really really incredibly well done suspenseful moments. I loved the use of this like wooden mannequin. I think the performances were all great. And it honestly, like when you think about it, it's a pretty simple story. It just does some really cool things and has some nice little twists and stuff in it. I just thought it was really effective. So I don't know. So this movie for me, I think kind of did, what like Smile 2 and like A Quiet Place Day 1 kind of did for you, Caretaker and stuff like that. So yeah,
Understandable.
I rocked with it.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Oddity was very good.
All right. Now we're almost at the end, guys. So let's talk about our top 3 horror films of the year. And then,
Bum bum bum.
Sam, what is your third favorite horror film of 2024?
My number 3, which you probably saw coming, Barnabas, is Late Night with the Devil. I was waiting for this one so long. It finally came out. I invited my friend Zach and his husband Braden. They came over, me, my lady, and them. We watched this shit together, and the whole time I loved it. We were trying to like guess like what was going on, what was happening. We all got it fucking wrong, and I don't know. The story was fascinating.
Yeah.
This like TV show host who his wife died of cancer, and then people wonder if he could bounce back, and he did bounce back, and then he mentions these weird rituals in the woods, trying to summon like Abraxas or whatever, and then a spoiler alert, Abraxas ends up on the show. So I don't want to go too far into it. If you haven't seen Late Night with the Devil, I'm pretty sure this is another movie we could yammer on and on about. But this is my number 3. It it just really did something for me. I haven't stopped like every time I think about 2024 horror, this one always pops into my head. It stayed with me. It was done well. It was super original. I mean, the story wasn't like anything crazy, but the unraveling of it was perfect. I think they did well with how they paced it. I thought they did well with how they chose to unravel the story. I had really no qualms with this movie other than the fact that it was a little bit gimmicky, and then I know we all us three have our gripes about using AI in the creative process, but it was just used for like a few banners, which like if you're going to use it for something that like trivial, why not just like make your own, you know what I mean? So like that was really I don't know, I'm weird about using AI for creative purposes. If you want to use it for like troubleshooting stuff and for like recipes and whatever the fuck you want to use it for, just please keep it out of fucking cinema. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, it is a shame that I think that aspect of it is going to kind of leave a stain on the movie, but it is what it is. I mean, they have their reasoning for it, I guess. I don't know that I necessarily agree with it. However, it is pretty inconsequential in the grand scheme of things, I guess. And I've always said that, like, I don't want that to take away from the rest of the movie, because I do genuinely agree with you. Like, I think the rest of the movie is fantastic. It does some like really, really cool things. Obviously, David Desmalchin is phenomenal in the lead role. I love the whole like talk show, like just how it's set up to be this like episode of the talk show for me is super cool, and being able to see that kind of in like real time, and then getting to see the asides in black and white of like the backstage, and that's kind of really where the story unfolds, and really where we get to see these characters like be themselves. I just love that. And then the effects are like very much like very kind of 70s, intentionally, of course. And yeah, I just thought it was just like a really, really cool, unique film. Had vibes of that, like some similar movies like WNUF Halloween Special and Ghost Watch, kind of that same vein. It's like a live, like show, but still a lot different, I think, in its own way. So yeah, super, super cool movie.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Caretaker, your number 3 film.
All right. So my top 3, I had a difficult time because I feel like all 3 of these films on any given day, one of them could just be the number 1.
Mm-hmm.
The It's tough. These top 3, it was tough, really, just because. Yeah, it was tough, but you'll know why as we go through all 3 of them. But for the sake of the episode and this current list, my number 3 film is The First Omen. And
Good choice. Solid fucking choice. I'm not going to judge you on that because that shit was fucking fire.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I agree. Like, with kind of what you guys were saying earlier, you know, um, I went into it very open minded. I was actually the reason why I was really mostly interested in it was because of Nell Tiger Free.
Mm-hmm.
That's her name, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I had seen her. I watched the show Servant on Apple TV Plus, the M Night Shyamalan show, and she is the star of that show, and she plays a character named Leanne in that show, and she is fucking phenomenal in that show. And so I was just like, okay, like she's gonna be the lead for The First Omen. Sounds interesting. Like I'll see it just because of her. And I gotta say, dude, that was another one of the strongest fucking female performances of the year, at least
Agreed.
in my opinion. I thought she was phenomenal, and um, I also thought that no spoilers, but she was reminiscent in some scenes of I don't know, I can't think of what her name is, but the woman in Possession.
Yeah.
And yeah, she was so good. And the movie, the experience, it was funny because when I was watching it, early on, I was like, okay, like this is interesting, but like it could go either way still. But there was a certain point in the movie, I can't remember the exact point, but I was just like, oh fuck. Oh fuck, I am so fucking in. This movie's kind of fucking great. Like this is fucking awesome. And it did, like there was that moment in the movie, and I'm pretty sure I know the point, but I don't want to spoil anything for people out there who haven't seen it yet. So but yeah, and from that point forward, dude, I was just like, this movie's going to places that I totally did not expect it to go to.
Mm-hmm.
At least for a Hollywood like prequel, it did not, a lot of times those are just kind of throwaway movies for the most part,
Yeah,
and
pretty generic.
damn, especially like movies that follow like a similar type of story, like surrounding the church and all of that. And so this movie went places that I did not expect it to go to, and I fucking respect the hell out of it for doing that, because man, it definitely, like, it made for an experience. And I know some people didn't feel the same way, but for me, this movie fucking rocked. It completely rocked, dude. And it rocked and it fucking rolled. And I loved it. And even like the ending, the way that it kind of tied in, with the original film. And I'm curious to see. I've read a little bit, and they might, make a direct sequel to this. I'm curious to see if they do. Is that going to be able to hold up the same way that the first Omen held up? Is it going to be able to be as good? Because man, the first Omen was, yeah, it fucking rocked. The cinematography was killer. The the performances were killer. I thought the writing was fucking killer. I like everything about it, dude. I was just like really surprised at how much care and thought went into it. And but I guess it's not technically a surprise, because the our Arcacia, I don't know how you say her name, but Arkasha Stevenson, the director, I know she had a decent background with some of her previous projects I hadn't seen, but I know that she was known to be a pretty decent director. So, but yeah, Nell Tiger Free though, the standout to me, dude. She like, the movie was already good, but the fact that she just took that role and ran with it and did what she did, and yeah, it made it so much better. She is so great. I can't wait to see her in more films. Specifically, hoping that she does more horror. She did say that she was like a fan of the Terrifier franchise, so maybe she'll pop up in there at some point too.
Maybe
I don't know,
cameo appearance.
yeah, she's a big fan of horror, so I'd love to see her in more horror films, because dude, fuck yeah,
Yeah,
she
she
was
knocked
great.
it out of the park.
So yeah, first Omen, dude, loved it.
Nice. Yeah, good pick for sure. All right, I won't spend a lot of time on mine, and I didn't want to talk out of turn, but my number 3 is Late Night with the Devil.
Oh,
Now,
There you go.
so all I'll say is that this
Alignment.
one, yeah, all I'll say, me and Sam usually have at least like one movie in the top 10 where it's
yeah,
like the
it's
same
such
thing.
it's such an obscure one too.
I know. Well, this movie was actually really heavily hyped before like the beginning of 2024, and I mean for me, for good reason. But it was like a huge festival favorite, and so it was all over the place online, like one of the best horror, reviewed horror films coming to 2024. And so I definitely had high expectations, and we've already talked about it, but I just really loved it. I think it was just like a cool premise that was executed really well. And sure, like a couple things here and there were a little bit of a blunder, but for the most part, I just really dug this from beginning to end. Like, I had a super cool time just seeing what was unfolding. I loved the format. And yeah, the overall atmosphere was great. So yeah, this was my number 1 for a while, but a couple movies did beat it out. So we'll get into our top 2 now. So Sam, start us off, your number 2 film.
My number 2 was mentioned in passing by Caretaker. You probably didn't pay much attention, but you did say you wanted to see it
Okay.
because it was just a very obscure one, and it is Milk and Cereal.
Oh.
Nice. Okay,
I-
cool.
I was chilling at home alone one day, folding laundry. I was like, all right, I'm going to put this shit on. Start putting it on. Ended up watching the movie, completely fucking forgot. There's just a fucking basket of laundry sitting next to me. Dude, it's no spoilers. Okay, it starts off as a prank, and then it just spirals into the weirdest fucking shit that you wouldn't expect. And then it just gets darker and darker and darker. and then it just ends really fucked up. It is such a fucking. It's fucked. It's so fucked. Barnabas, you gotta fucking watch it, bro.
Yeah,
And it's
you
on
definitely got to
YouTube.
see it.
And one of the
Definitely.
guys, the guys that made it are like TikTok famous. They make like fun comedy
Yeah.
sketches.
Oh God, yeah. I'm looking.
Yeah.
Oh God, I'm looking at the IMDb right now, and I actually like recognize these guys. They're fucking hilarious. But
Yeah.
I had no
Yeah.
idea they made a movie. So wow.
Dude,
Yeah,
it's
they've
so
made
good.
other films too.
Oh,
They
really?
made like this short horror film called The Chair, which was pretty
Oh,
good too.
dude, I've heard of that. Oh my God, dude, I had no.
Dude,
I
I'm
had
telling
no
you,
idea.
YouTube like found footage is gonna be the thing. I've been watching a lot of horror shorts lately. Have you guys ever not related? Have you ever seen like Portrait of God?
Yeah, that
Yeah,
one's
yeah,
actually
it's a
that
good
one's
one.
awesome.
Holy
That one's
shit.
awesome, dude.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was freaked out by that one, but no, I had
But
no
yeah.
idea these guys like made.
No, dude, watch
horror.
Milk and Cereal. Put an hour of your
Okay.
time. Like, I think
Yeah,
you
y-
and Jamie would like it.
I think so
Okay,
too.
probably.
It was really good.
It's
it
so
was,
It just goes like a way different direction than you thought.
Right.
oh
okay.
yeah, oh yeah.
I've seen it. I've seen a lot of people talking about it on like Facebook and stuff. I just, I really had no idea about it because even, I don't know. I was just like from the
Yeah, I know. I
from the
usually don't
poster
fall
and
into the
stuff. I
hype.
was like, eh.
I just put it on for background noise while I
Yeah.
folded clothes, and then it ended up turning into me watching a movie and not folding clothes. So.
Nice.
Dude, Curry
Awesome.
Barker, man, he directed it too, but he's in it. He acted in it. That's the blonde guy from the
Yeah.
comedy sketches, but yeah, he's he's very good in it.
Nice.
Very good. I was actually, I guess I wasn't surprised, but I'd say a little bit surprised at how effective
Mm.
and
I
good he
know,
was in
dude.
it.
I
Like
know.
I was just like, damn, this guy's wow. Yeah.
Well,
okay.
I mean, no shade to the other guy, but he was always my favorite of like the comedy duo when they did their skits. So
Mhm.
I mean, I can fully understand that. I think he's a very
It's so
underrated
weird. You wouldn't
actor.
expect like them to make a great horror movie.
No,
because
I honestly
they're
wouldn't.
so good at comedy.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you know,
But
there's
that
a
just
lot of
goes to show you
overlap. So
Yeah, their talent is just they got a lot of talent and they know
It's
how
like-
to they
it's
know
like
how to
s-
entertain people.
For
It's
sure.
like Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi, man.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, and even more recently, the guys from I can't remember their fucking YouTube channel, but the guys who made talk to me, like they
Yeah.
originally started off, doing like just like comedy shorts on YouTube. So
Oh, I had no
I guess
idea.
that's where it's at. Yep.
Yep.
Anyway, yeah, I definitely got to watch it. All right, Caretaker, your number 2.
Okay, so my number 2 was mentioned earlier, and that is Strange Darling.
Nice.
Um,
Damn,
I
I gotta see
had-
this shit.
I had a blast with this movie. Indie movie, but man, the structure and in which it took us, through the story, I thought was perfect, especially because like it takes this concept that you've seen multiple times, but it does something very different and fresh with it, and the way that it tells the story in this kind of Tarantino-esque kind of like you were saying earlier, Barnabas, this Tarantino-esque kind of way, was very interesting. But even more than that, just the look of the film, like you said, the very vibrant colors, the performances between Willa Fitzgerald and Kyle Gallner and their chemistry with one another, the just the unexpected places it goes to, are all just like so fascinating and just so well done. The cinematography was so great, which, fun fact, if you guys didn't know, or if any of the listeners didn't know, Giovanni Ribisi was the cinematographer for the film, and he's actor turned cinematographer, and he fucking killed it. But yeah, this was such a good time and so inspiring in a sense too, because it's a smaller budget film, and just like things like that, at least to me, and I'm sure to you too, Barnabas, because we're filmmakers ourselves, it I don't know, it just like sticks out a little bit more to us because we're like, okay, like they were able to do this with a smaller budget.
Mm-hmm.
That's really creative in the way that they went about that, and you kind of that all kind of comes in into your mind too while you're watching, a smaller, indie film like that. And yeah, I just thought like it was super effective, and the payoffs were great. The emotion was awesome. The like I said, the chemistry between the two characters in their scenes together, the way that it was written, the dialogue, I thought was great. Yeah, everything about the movie. Again, I mean that's why it's my number two. I thought was really great. I don't want to go too much into detail. You did talk about it a little bit earlier, but yeah, phenomenal movie, and definitely not only in my top of the horror of the year, but it's in my top just flat out of the year.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I guess my top three all are, but yeah, Strange Darlings definitely like that's up there. It's fucking great.
It is not your typical horror movie, but still has like a lot of those elements I think in it, and it's just a
Mm-hmm.
great film in general, and just great storytelling in my opinion.
Absolutely.
So totally valid. All right, my number two has been mentioned, has not been in anybody's top 10 yet, and won't be, I don't think. But I don't know. I'm super biased toward it. You guys know how. Once I name it, you guys are gonna completely understand. I think, knowing me. So I'll just come out and say it. My number two is Nosferatu. So,
Yeah, I mean, you're honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you. Growing up, vampires were my favorite subgenre of horror. Still to this day, two greatest vampire movies, and I will die on this hill, are Fright Night and From Dusk Till Dawn. Those are the two greatest vampire movies ever made,
I
and
mean,
no one's gonna convince me otherwise. Um, Shout out to 30 Days of Night, though. I think
that's a good one.
as newer
Mm-hmm.
as it is, I think 30 Days of Night is top 5 vampire movie.
I think that's a great one. Yeah, but man, I don't know.
It's
Like,
fair.
this is a story. I'm not going to gush on this too much. This is also a pretty divisive one, I think, just because it's Robert Eggers. Look, all his movies have been subject to a lot of
Yes.
criticism over the years, and I get it because he's a completely unique filmmaker. You could say artsy. That's
The man
fine.
is just the man is just he has a vision, and it's not like formulaic.
Right.
It's not like I don't know what's the word for it. You can't emulate it.
Right.
Like it's all
Mm-hmm.
him.
Look.
Like everything he makes is like got his touch, and we don't even know what that touch is if we're being honest.
Right.
That's why it's everything he makes is good. That's why I'm excited to see this one.
No, he's super creative, and like I'll preface this by saying that I mean this in the most respectful way possible. So if for whatever reason he ever hears this, I just love the guy because he's such a huge fucking nerd. And like I said, I mean that in the most respectful way possible. He's kind of like a David Fincher type, but like for horror films. He pays so much attention to detail. Everything he puts into all of his movies is so meticulous, and it's just like, I don't know. I don't want to say perfect in a way, but like I said, just so much attention to detail. Everything is so thought out, so perfectly executed. And I think maybe for some people, it's the reason why they're maybe bored of his films or feel like they're dragged out or whatever the case may be, right? And if that's your opinion, totally fine. But there is just so much dedication put toward these. His knowledge of like folklore and history and everything that he puts into all of his films is so commendable, I think, and it all like comes through really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, all that translates into Nosferatu, I think, incredibly. And I think he was the perfect director for this type of film. And funny enough, this is kind of like his most mainstream movie in a lot of ways. But anyway, I think a lot of people are familiar with Nosferatu. The original 1922 film was pretty much just like an unauthorized adaptation of Dracula.
Yeah.
We've all seen
We all know
Dracula.
it.
This is mostly that story. They only had to change a few things for legal reasons. And fun fact, the ending of Nosferatu, which pretty much jump started all the vampires are like allergic to sunlight kind of thing, or sunlight kills them, was just because the director at the time didn't have the translated script of Dracula, so he kind of had to freeball his own like ending to Nosferatu. So that's where like the big difference between the stories
Because like,
is.
wasn't sunlight only supposed to like weaken Dracula?
Yeah, in Bram Stoker's Dracula, it like kind of weakens him, yeah, but it doesn't kill him or anything. So they really added that into the German Nosferatu. Anyway, that point aside, this is over 100-year-old story, and not much changes in Eggers' adaptation because it really does try to be pretty faithful. But there are a couple like newer additions, especially to the character of Ellen Hutter, who's played excellently, I think, by Lily Rose Depp in this film. And those are welcome. I think they do add some cool things to her character, the story, and her relationship with Count Orlok. And but anyway, Eggers' style I think shines so beautifully here. The gothic comes through like incredibly well. The cinematography is, in my opinion, the most beautiful of the year. It's so haunting. The way that they use natural lighting is incredible. And just so many of the shots are like so bold. The shadows of like Count Orlok's influence in his hands and everything are amazing, in my opinion. And I was just super drawn into the movie. I think the themes are explored really well. All the performances are great. Bill Skarsgård as Count Orlok, phenomenal. Had no idea what to
Awesome.
expect
Yeah.
with him.
I saw one clip
but he
of him
killed it.
yelling at her, and
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh shit, he looks like Borat meets Dracula." So basically,
I
like,
mean,
so
yeah,
essentially
kind of,
just
but-
Vlad the Impaler.
Yeah, but I definitely appreciate the direction that they took Count Orlok in with this movie, because Robert Eggers did try to kind of call back to like folklore and how the character would have looked if he was like an undead, like Transylvanian nobleman. So I had no problem with that. I think the prosthetics were amazing, and I think Count Orlok in this movie was scary. And
I saw like a image of Count Orlok as Bill Skarsgård as him, and
Yeah.
it was like a really like unflattering image of him, and it reminded me of the guy from that one movie Anthropophagus.
I think I know what you're talking about, like on the cover
Yeah,
or
I
something.
think Martin Eastman. Yeah,
Well, once you see
or
the
Marvin
movie,
Eastman. I'm not sure.
once you see the movie, you'll understand that that picture better. But I just really enjoyed this. I think it was like equally gorgeous and equally riveting and haunting and tragic. And I mean, this is a gothic horror film, so it's not going to be like your typical everyday like jump scare, horror film. Like there's a lot of subtext. There's a lot that goes into the really kind of fucked up relationship between Count Orlok and Ellen and everything. So I was just super drawn into the movie, and I was really captivated by it the entire way. So that's why it's my number 2.
Completely fair assessment. I mean, I pretty much agree with a lot of things that you just said on it. Like technically speaking, I thought it was masterful. So yeah, it just, like I said earlier, I just feel like maybe it just wasn't exactly for me. I didn't connect to it enough. But yeah, I mean, everything that you said is completely valid, and I don't fault you for it at all, because it was, a very, very, very well made movie.
And I mean, I completely understand that too. I mean, I think there's a difference between a bad movie and like you just didn't really vibe with the movie. And Eggers is kind of like the epitome of that. Like his style is definitely not for everybody's taste. But if that is your thing, then I think you're really going to enjoy this film, because it hits like all those notes just perfectly well. So,
which is so interesting, because I don't want to carry this out too long, but I did like, Eggers. Well, I really like The Witch, and I really like The Northman.
Yeah.
2 movies that I really, really like. I don't know why, but I just vibe with those movies. But Nosferatu, I didn't vibe with enough, I guess. But I am going to give it another opportunity to see if I vibe with it maybe more on a second watch.
Was it the mustache?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's just hard to put into words, so I totally understand.
But I do think I vibe with Nosferatu maybe a little bit more than the Lighthouse.
Okay.
So because the Lighthouse was another one that just, I don't think it was for me. Like it, technically speaking, another one that was made really really well,
Hmm.
but you know, so that's where I stand with it. But yeah, I completely understand why you loved it so much, and I do think that all of your reasonings are completely valid.
Yeah. All right. So this is it. The top of the list. Number 1 horror film of 2024. Sam, take it away.
Here we fucking go.
I have a feeling you guys know what it is. Speaking of movies that vibe with you and that you can relate to and that talk to you, and well, as you all know, Samael is the Prince of Darkness. He is the Lord of all evil, and most importantly, he is the man downstairs. My number 1 for the year is Longlegs.
Nice.
Nice.
I don't know, man. I saw this my birthday weekend. This is a movie, this vibe, this feel, this cursed essence. Like this is truly a movie that from beginning to end truly feels possessed, feels haunted, feels everything I've ever wanted in a experimental, psychological, supernatural horror movie. And I don't think I've ever felt this way about a horror movie. This is in my top 5 horror movies of all time for me, which is crazy.
Wow.
It really like stayed with me. I really loved like all like the Easter eggs through it. I love that I was not able to figure out what the fuck was going on. I wasn't even close to figuring out what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
It was just truly didn't even have to be scary, didn't even have to be like disturbing or gross. It just this movie was like, I don't know, if you took my brain and grabbed all the weird thoughts and everything in my head and like just fucking made it into a movie of like what I think is the perfect 10 out of 10 horror movie. The the cinematography, the acting, the score. The score wasn't even a score. It was just a foreboding like
Mm-hmm.
ooh,
Mm-hmm.
just placed in at the right time. Truly one of my favorite horror movies of all time. And it's weird because fucking Nicolas Cage is in it. So
Yeah.
I truly my number 1 horror movie. In my favorite movie in like the past like at least like 5 years. My favorite horror movie. So
Wow.
Wow.
I'm
Hey, man.
excited to see what's gonna top it in 2025. Definitely not the Conjuring final movie.
No.
So
Well, I mean,
Doubt it.
the director does have that the monkey coming out in
Yeah.
this year.
Oh.
So I mean, it does definitely look like a different vibe, but I mean, who knows? But yeah, man. I mean, we've definitely discussed it even on the podcast. I think there's just something about Longlegs that really like clings to you throughout its runtime and even afterwards, and really. So it's got that kind of like icky, sinister feeling to it, and I think that that's really what makes it stand out.
Yeah.
So I mean, I
definitely.
completely understand.
Yep. Exactly. I
Well, now
completely understand too.
I'm excited
so.
to hear your guys' number 1.
Yeah, I'm curious. So this is one that has my number 1 has not been mentioned at all by anybody
I'm super
yet.
curious what yours is.
So it's interesting to me. I don't know. I don't know if this is divisive or not, but nobody's mentioned it yet. So so I'll just dive right in. It is I had a fucking great time with this movie, and it's Alien Romulus.
Oh man.
Oh wow,
And I know that's probably surprising. But
Barnabas, you're the sci-fi guy. What the fuck?
Hey, I'll give my opinion.
yeah. So Alien Romulus, I don't know.
I heard it was fire.
I completely like. I thought that this movie really brought back the Alien franchise in a lot of really fucking cool ways. Yeah, it did have a few things about it that, I kind of maybe wish that might have been done a little bit differently, but overall, man, I gotta say, like, this was an Alien movie that I've been fucking waiting for. This, what, like, and I love the Alien franchise, and I know you do too, Barnabas,
Mm-hmm.
and I know quite a few other people that really love the Alien franchise too, um, and all of them really liked this movie for the most part. But yeah, this movie was such a good time, and like, walking out of it, I don't think I realized how much I really liked it, because there was a lot to take in, especially when it's like a deeper movie into the franchise. It's like, there's so many like moving parts, and then you're comparing it to the other ones and trying to see if it kind of stands on its own, and if it really kind of, separated itself and created this individuality for itself to be, to really be like a, a really good new entry into the franchise. And for me, I thought it really checked all those boxes, dude. I thought that this was a killer fucking time, and I thought that the practical effects were done really well. I thought that the acting was phenomenal. Specifically, I'm going to call out two of the actors, and I'll say Kaylee Spaney
Mm-hmm.
in her role. She was a phenomenal lead,
Yeah.
and I don't know if they could have cast a better lead in that role. And I'm really hoping that maybe they do a follow up, and she's, potentially or even, just some other story with her, involving her, because she was fucking great.
Mm-hmm.
And the other guy I want to mention is the guy that played the droid in the movie. His name's David Johnson, and I thought, like, you know playing a droid is hard enough, but I think, playing a droid, and I don't want to give too many spoilers away, but there are different aspects to his droid throughout the story, and the way that he played that character, and the way that he was able to kind of shift the way that he was playing that character and playing that droid, I thought was just it was awesome, dude. This guy did an incredible job as Andy, the droid, and yeah, dude, there was some fucking just killer scenes in this movie. I thought the ending was very unique, and it took some interesting things. I don't want to go too much into detail, but it took some interesting things that maybe, you might have seen some of before, but it really kind of did its own thing, and I thought it landed really well. Um, and yeah, dude, just the aliens were great in this
Mm-hmm.
movie. The callbacks, I thought, for the most part, the callbacks were done well. I know some people took issues with some of them, but overall, I didn't have any big issues with them. There were a couple that I felt like, okay, maybe a little too much, but overall, those are very small things in comparison to what the movie had to offer. And I just thought that this movie fucking killed it for the Alien franchise. I thought that this was just, personally, it's probably my second favorite Alien film. And I am like, I've only seen it once, so I am a little high on it still, and I got to see it a second time to really like solidify that positioning. But overall, man, what a good fucking time this movie was, and the intensity in this movie was great. The alien scenes were awesome. The payoffs were awesome. The some of the sequences were so memorable too,
Mm-hmm.
like so fucking cool. And yeah, there, like I said, there's very small things that you can kind of nitpick, and but overall, man, what a, like, it was great, and it's so difficult. honestly like picking which one was going to be my favorite of the year, but I think that this one just like because I have a soft spot for the Alien franchise, and and you know this one just it really took it back to some of its roots in horror, because you know some of our last ones that we got like Alien Covenant and Prometheus, you know, well they did do their own thing, and I respect them both for it. And I do like, you know, I do like Prometheus and Covenant to a degree. There are some things that I like about it, but neither one of those movies are perfect. Well, neither one of them are great, even
Mhm.
per se. I do find Prometheus more interesting than Covenant, but that's a whole other thing. But Alien Romulus, dude, I thought it really took the franchise back to some of its roots. It took a little bit of some of the stuff that you've seen before and it sprinkled it in there, but I thought it did it in a really cool way, and I had a really good time with it, man. I gotta say, dude, like it was just a great fucking time, and I think that's just why it ended up being my number one. I thought about it a lot, dude, a lot, because I've moved this movie around a lot on my list, um, but yeah, this one just stuck out to me, dude. It was I'm really, really, really looking forward to a second rewatch because I've, I've watched a couple of the scenes, a few times since I originally saw it for the first time, and man, those scenes are so fucking good and gripping and intense. And personal opinion, it's a great fucking movie.
Well, all I'll say is, um, I have a lot of thoughts about Alien Romulus, okay? But I don't want to like take up a whole ton of time about it. All I'll say is I fully respect the opinion. Um, you guys know that Alien is one of my favorite movies of all time. So I was obviously really looking forward to Alien Romulus. And I do think it's a great movie and in a lot of ways. However, I think my biggest gripe, and I guess I put a little more stock into this than you might, which is totally fine. But you did touch on it a little bit, is the whole like individuality component. For me personally, I think that this movie had a lot of opportunities to really solidify itself as like it has its own like 100% clear identity within this franchise, and it's really doing its own thing fully. However, I don't think it really got there 100%. And I guess, like I said, for me, I think I put a little bit more stock into that because I was a bit disappointed that it couldn't fully do that. You know, the presence of Kaylee Spaney and David Johnson as those characters are really cool. The xenomorphs are great. The practical effects are great. The setting is great. I mean, all of the set design, all the technical components are solid. I'm a big fan of Fede Alvarez. I think his direction here was great as well. But for me, I think they shoehorned in too much of like the callbacks and the fan service. And I think if there was a little bit of that, totally fine. You know, some fun Easter eggs like with spoiler alert, Ian Holmes' character. But even though in the theatrical release it was like super bad CGI. But anyway, but like if there was a little bit of that stuff, fine. But as the movie progressed, I feel like they just took any opportunity to like very explicitly call back the other films to the point where I think it took away from this movie's like own identity. And so by the end of it, to me, I was like, man, there were some really cool parts, but half the damn movie just felt like a highlight reel of the other aliens. And I completely respect, your opinion if you don't think that's the case. And I want to give it another watch too, because maybe I was just being too harsh on it, during like watching those scenes and stuff. Because I mean, for a few of them, I was like, oh, like that's a cool like callback, but
Mm-hmm.
like I said, by the end, I felt like maybe it was just a little much. And even in some of those scenes, it almost felt like they did it just to do it, whereas they could have done something completely different and still progress the story in the way that they wanted to. I don't want to give any spoilers, so I can't really talk about it fully, but that was kind of my takeaway from it. That said, I still gave it a 3.5 stars. I liked a lot of aspects of it. Like you said, super intense, and that element definitely reminded me of like the first two Alien films.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely brought scary back
Yeah.
to the
Yep, for
franchise, if
sure.
you will. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Upon first
I
watch, I just couldn't look past some of that stuff, but I definitely do want to rewatch it again.
Yeah, and I can understand that. I mean, like I said, like those are things that I kind of mentioned when I was talking about it. There's things that you can nitpick, and I
Hmm.
do understand where you say like they might have gone a little overboard with some of it. Because I do feel that as well. I felt like some of them, maybe just could have completely left out and done something a little bit differently, and it would have been awesome still.
Hmm.
Um, but overall, I still felt like it was able, at least for me, from my perspective and my opinion, that it was able to create its own kind of individuality
Hmm.
because of the unique environment that it was taking place in, and the characters, and just just this fresh kind of newer take of this in the Alien franchise. So for me, I thought it was those things outweighed the some of the other things,
Sure.
some of the fan service and whatnot, and I'm really looking forward to a rewatch.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if I'm gonna still feel the same or if I'm gonna feel maybe a little bit differently. You never really know upon rewatches, but I certainly hope that your rewatch, Barnabas, you do enjoy it a bit more.
I think I
I
probably
feel
will.
like maybe
Yeah.
you will, because maybe you won't be so hyper focused on some of those other aspects of the film,
Hmm.
and rolling your eyes at some of it, hopefully at least.
Yeah. Hopefully.
So yeah, hopefully you'll have a better time with it the second time,
Yeah.
but I completely understand your criticisms because they're all valid.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say they're not, but for me I thought yeah, like I said, it just for me it didn't take away from the movie as much as it did some other people.
For sure. Well,
So
Sam, you got to watch it and let us know your thoughts.
I know, dude. I heard it was fucking fire, but not without its own little
Mm.
like problems that you said like you couldn't really like look past, or like it was like super noticeable. But I want to watch it and form an opinion for myself because not gonna lie to you guys, only Alien movies I've ever watched was the original and AVP.
oh,
AVP
bro.
is great.
Bro, but you got to see Aliens if you've never seen
Ali-
Aliens.
Aliens is phenomenal for sure. James
You
Cameron at his
have
I'm
to.
best.
I'm looking at my thick ass Alien Blu-ray like right here. I literally just like I wasn't even looking for it. I just looked over to the shelf and there it was staring at me.
Yeah. All right. Well, finally, my number one. I don't know if this is going to be a surprise for you guys, but we'll see. But this is definitely interchangeable, I think, with Nosferatu. But the reason that I picked this one is that I feel like this was just such a unique, original, different film. And this movie garnered, I think, the most visceral reactions from me out of any horror film this year. Like at various moments during my watch at the movie theater, I was like disgusted, I was intrigued, I was confused, I was horrified. It ran the gamut. And so my number one horror film of 2024 is The Substance.
I had a feeling.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, I was a big fan of Revenge as well. I had no idea what to expect with this one, like I said, but it totally blew me away. I loved the premise. I think thematically, this movie hit all of its themes so well. I know some people are like iffy on the ending. However, I think it's the perfect culmination of all the super chaotic shit that happens before it, and just takes all of that like chaotic, fucked up, crazy energy and just explodes in like the most insane but appropriate way and I just think it works. But everything in this movie is just like so interesting. I mean, the cinematography is really unique, and it you almost think it doesn't really fit the movie in a lot of ways, but when you really think about it, it definitely does. I mean, this is a movie all about like vanity, ambition, desire, and I think every facet of it just like plays into those things so well. Like seeing like so many close-ups, Dennis Quaid just like nomming on fucking shrimp or whatever he's doing in that in that restaurant scene, but it encapsulates like what this movie is trying to say so well, and then obviously everything else about it. Man, I don't want to get into spoilers if people haven't seen it,
I haven't
but
seen it. Don't fucking.
I know I'm not
spoil
going
it.
to spoil it, but all those things I think work so well and are so different, and the body horror in this is among the best I've seen in recent years, and the concept behind the body horror is also so unique, and I think is excellent. The back and forth between Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley is so riveting. I just think their characters are, I mean, they're the same person, but they're not. And I think they play that off so well. And it's just really cool seeing everything unfold the way it does. And like I said, just spiral into absolute insanity in the third act of the film. Um, so I don't want to even say too much more. I mean, we've talked about it, but yeah, excellent from every technical perspective, in my opinion. Great acting, great directing, and just so unlike anything else I've ever seen. And so I think, emotionally and also just like as a filmmaker, I connected with this movie the most because it did so many cool things. And again, not even necessarily scary in a lot of ways, but that's the thing about horror. It does so much more than just like scare you. I mean, if you were in that situation, I think you'd be terrified for a lot of reasons. But the way that this movie is able to hit on so many of your other just like raw emotions is so good. So that's why it's my number one.
Yeah,
Fair.
completely
So-
fair.
Got to see it if you haven't. But
Okay, I'm gonna.
It's great.
definitely check
It
it,
is
out.
Now
great.
I don't know if I want to watch Strange Darling or this shit.
I don't know. At some point, I just got to watch them all. But
Yeah, you do.
but
Yeah, honestly, Substance could have been higher on my list. So
hey, that's all right.
it's great. It's fucking phenomenal.
Well, fiends, those are our top 10 horror films of 2024. Definitely let us know which movies you like the most, which ones you didn't like the most. It was just such a good year. And before we end the episode, because we've definitely tried this on long enough, I do have to say, I think we all definitely have to honor this episode to the now, unfortunately, late, great David Lynch, who unfortunately passed away today.
Dude, I was literally just like scrolling, like doom scrolling while
Mhm.
taking a poop, and then I saw that and I was like, bro, what the fuck? What crazy fucking news out of the
I
blue?
know. Insane.
Yeah, so sad.
Yeah. Such a
Fuck,
visionary man.
I'm gonna get my David Lynch kick on here pretty soon though,
Oh, for sure.
because there's some of his work that I haven't seen yet, and I've been meaning to watch it, and now I just feel like this is I gotta watch it very soon. Like, it's just
I'm-
very sad, very very sad that he passed today.
I mean, yeah,
Rest in
he's
peace.
he's a true creative. We've talked about like so many unique horror films, and I mean, not all of his movies were horror, but he was just such a unique guy, such a unique filmmaker, and really creative. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
sad news. But anywho, that'll be the end of our episode, folks. Now, if you haven't been paying attention to the social media, I at least will be away for a little while. I'm expecting my first child this weekend. So, at least for a little while, I'm going to be kind of taking a little bit of a leave of absence. But these guys will still be around. We've still got a lot of content. So, guys, why don't you tell the folks where they can find Grave Discussions?
They can mainly find us on gravediscussions.net and all your favorite podcast hosting sites. And unfortunately, with the TikTok ban going around, um, we might not be around on TikTok. Neither will any of you, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Let's just give China all of our data. Let's just move to Red Note. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah, honestly.
I already made a Red Note, and I'm on there. So
Hey,
mingling with our Chinese brothers and sisters, bro.
we might make one. I mean, it's not out of the question, but
We also have fan base. We could get on there.
true. But we do have Blue Sky now, as well as I'm gonna try to get us a bit more active on YouTube. There's YouTube Shorts and doing the videos again as well. So definitely find us on there. We're still on Facebook and Instagram for now, and then we'll probably be on some other stuff too. But yeah, definitely go check out all that for any more Grave Discussions content. But that's going to do it for episode 112.
But I got to do my devilish duty as the Archangel of Death, and I have to murder the caretaker.
Uh-oh.
It is the caretaker's final episode as such, and whence he be murdered, hence he will be reborn.
Mm-hmm. As something.
It was a pleasure, but you are no longer the caretaker.
Oh, the pleasure was all mine.
And when we return, he will be reborn as something else. Probably not Carl the Creep or Creepy Carl, whatever we were talking about.
Yeah, probably not.
Probably not. You never know. You never know.
No.
Let's stay
Creepy Carl is
open-minded.
too fucking funny.
The caretaker will be back in some form or another on the next episode. So, Gravers, we will see you again next time
On Grave Discussions.